popping in the building too. All right, so there we go. So that way we have it recorded. So again, if you want to go back and watch it later, wrong one, wrong tab. You'll have the ability to go back and do that. All right. So so any questions thus far before we get started here? Okay, yeah, I see you guys were typing in the back chat. Make sure I get the type chat bubble up so I can see that. What's going on with Corey in the building too as well, because everybody in the building here. All right. So so in relation to that, again, tapering, technicals, and timeline, right? So this is a very pivotal part in the market that we've already planned for. We discussed it several times, even going back as far as last year when we knew this moment was coming, right? We were saying if they're gonna, pull back or pull the money parachute, back into the pack, well, we kind of referenced that it may happen around what? Into Q1, Q2 of 2021. Again, we got this on tape. That's why I love this stuff, because we can always go back and replay it. We have this stuff on tape saying that this is going to be the time, or we would think, where if there is going to be some kind of form of reckoning in markets, right? All this, what they call helicopter money was going to kind of start to pull back. We was kind of referencing around in a Q1, Q2 session, right? So we're kind of on that back end of that Q2 session readout, or it's basically in the Q3 now. But that data that came out of the summer session, it's going to be more relevant going into the back half of the year, the fiscal calendar. Why? Because now we have a whole new different barometer of economic improvement or a sluggishness to read off of, because now we got potential kids going back to school. This is when the markets are more mechanized and weaponized for the value to receive income based on people spending money, because a lot of the major holidays are on the back end of the year. Just where they hit you with that blitz of what? Holiday after holiday after holiday after holiday. You just spending money, right? And so, they kind of factor that into the, CPI, right? Well, we know CPI is basically what? What is the CPI readout? Anybody want? What is the CPI? Right. CPI is basic consumer price index, right? And in relation to people spending money to that of the price of goods and services, right? Now, retail numbers are one thing different, right? Retail sales are just, okay, are we spending money at a level where we can say that, there's an active participation in terms of consumerism to help bolster the economy, right? Then there's the CPI gauge, which measures the barometer of the inflation value in terms of our balance or lack thereof, in terms of our ability for our labor to be equal to that or close to that of our producing aspect, and how that fluctuates to commodity price, because every product starts off as a raw commodity, right? Steel, aluminum, wood, whatever, right? Gold, silver. We talk about these are basic commodities, right? Food, right? Corn, feeded cows, cattle, hogs, soybean, whatever, right? Sugar, milk. That stuff is accounted for all the way down to the minutia of how the markets even see that as, again, a spec barometer of the overall aspect of how people buy their goods and services out of these grocery stores. Now, a lot of times we think, man, that's a little too much deep diving for me. Just how much it costs, and is it a good opportunity to invest in? But this is what it takes, again, to be, again, that kind of sharpshooter or that sharp-minded investor or trader who knows the game inside and out, right? A lot of this stuff is just basic turnkey, in my opinion, basic everyday stuff that we already know about, right? That's why I say, we're solid when it comes to understanding, how, products and services are kind of rated based upon our like or our taste, because we're kind of the biggest consumers out there. What better people to go to than the people that consume the most? And that's Black people, right? And I would say, that if they're going to use that somewhat actually kind of against us, then why not be the brainchildren or the brainchild behind knowing exactly, how we can, get out of this whole event that we ever had to cross that bridge, which we're going to have to at some point. We're going to stop spending so much that we do and start investing back into our communities, right? Or back into, I would say this, our infrastructure. I'm not even going to use the word community. I'm going to say infrastructure, right? We need Black infrastructure, right? What is Black infrastructure, right? If I was to ask you guys, what is Black infrastructure to you all, what would that be? And that pairs into what we're going to talk about a little bit today anyway. What does Black infrastructure means to you guys? Anybody.
Gotta have, schools, uh, military, hospitals, banks, basically a bunch of black businesses.
Right. A nation within itself, right? As they say,
Right.
a BSA site. Some of you guys might have been in the military like myself. A BSA site, right? You need to have a protection, a hedge around your what? Your values, your morals, your whatever, right? Dr. Khalid Muhammad obviously went in on those things, and many other people, right? You have to have protection, right? A firewall, if you will, because if not, everybody gonna prey on your what? Your community, right? Right? You have no enforcement or what they call punishing mechanism to afflict any kind of reprimand on people who do your business, meaning your people wrong within their what? Their jurisdiction, right? So that means we're just kind of loose cattle just roaming around and everybody taking advantage of feeding off us, right? Well, some would say, well, what does that tie into what we talk about? Well, it has a lot to tie into what we're talking about. Yeah, I actually got it going live. I got it going live right now. We're live right now. Matter of fact, let me get this over here. Let me get this cut. Okay, let me cut that down over there. All right. Yeah, so I got it going on the YouTube side. So that way, like I said, remember we can always go back and watch it. All right. So that's important. Why? Because again, it's more it's actually more of a reason why we need to become more stewards of what they call financial knowledge, right? Or we call financial literacy, right? But the reality is that you have to know, as they say, the price of tea in China. We have to know this data to a degree, right? Because at any given moment, if your economy starts to kind of flutter and have moments where it's sputtering and there's problems, right? Especially when the R word starts throwing around, then we know what that is, right? The recession word, right? People start saying, "Oh my gosh, here we go." Well, recession is a combination of what? Excessive spending or excessive saving, right? There has to be a balance between both. If you have excessive spending, right, and you don't have enough production within that realm, then you can kind of price yourself out the market, right? You starve somebody out the market. Well, that at least your suppliers in itself can't kind of replenish fast enough, and it kind of cause a log jam, so to speak, in the supply chain. If people ain't spending at all, then and you got overproduction of goods and service, that means you have a lot of high dollar items sitting in a warehouse somewhere, racking up what they call a sitting charge or a festering charge that could be very problematic to these or corporations as a whole, right? They got all this inventory and can't offload it, right? We dealt with that. We dealt with that through what? Tariffs. Y'all remember that? The whole tariffs, scenario, which we're still dealing with tariffs right now. People, I keep saying we're not done with tariffs just because Joe Biden in office. Actually, Joe Biden kept those tariffs on the books, right? He kept those tariffs on the books that Trump initiated, right? Because at the end of the day, Biden is not stupid. That's $300 billion that Trump was able to finagle back out of the Asians or the Chinese people, during that tariff scenario. And somehow, magically, a lot of these supply chains wasn't ultimately disrupted to the degree where we still couldn't get imports in that we needed and export things, out in the same light. See how that work? They always find a way, right? And that's that there's always money available, right? No matter what they tell you that there's no money, that's a lie. There's always money available, right? And we know that too because what just happened with Afghanistan, right? Do you guys happen to know how much we were paying a day in Afghanistan to be over there every single day? And we were doing that for 20 years, mind you. How much were we paying every day in terms of expended costs for that Afghanistan, debacle of a war, if you want to call it that? Anybody? How much was we paying a day?
Like
Say
300
the question
million.
again.
How much money were we spending every day in Afghanistan during the wartime? That 20 years we've been over there. Somebody was saying
I
it
heard it
too.
was like 300 million.
$300 million. Let that marinate. That's $300 million a day of taxpayers' money going to fund people who obviously pretty much just cowered and left their own economy and just flee at the sign of what they consider to be a threat and gave it all up for nothing. We wasted our taxpayers' money to equip these people that wanted what they so-called said they wanted freedom, and then at the first sign of conflict, what do? They tucked their tails and ran away. They was not about that life. And guess what? You all supported it indirectly. See how that worked? $300 million that could have been going back into our school system. $300 million that could have been going to our infrastructure, bridges, pipelines, electrical grids. I mean, water systems. Again, we still got Flint that happened in the 2000s. Flint, Michigan, with the water system. Again, this is the part where I kind of go off on my soapbox, but it all ties into our conversation because this is about what understanding how microeconomics affect the macro picture, right? Y'all follow me there, right? This is where macroeconomics, right, which is the bigger picture, is inflated by microeconomic factors, right? The small things that we see day to day. Again, as small as going at the grocery store. You at the grocery store, you paying an additional what? 15% markup on eggs, cheese, milk, whatever the case. Well, eventually that money begins to kind of be felt, right? Or you will see it, come into some kind of form of wait a minute, this is crazy. I'm end up spending a little bit more extra on my monthly budget here in terms of groceries, or you'll be getting less product, right? For equal or greater money, right? That's what inflation does to your economy, right? Again, used car sales are up what now? What, 36% on the year? A used car is getting a 36% positive push on its valuation now, only because inflation. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. So if y'all had a hoop that laying around the backyard somewhere, maybe dust that thing off and get it out there on the front lawn for sale. Somebody was willing to buy it because they're chasing what they consider to be what? Value, right? Right? That extra markup. That's why you got people popping up every day. You want to sell your house? We'll buy your house from you, right? The housing market is just crazy right now. It's all over the place, right? Well, some valuations obviously over time bounce themselves out, and you will have what we consider to be what? Equilibrium, where the market says, okay, enough is enough. Let's kind of pull back on some of this, and then what? So you don't want to get caught doing what? Buying at the what? You don't want to get caught buying at the top, right? That's any investor on any aspect of an asset purchase. Go ahead, over.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're trained for, right? We're educated enough to know that if you can buy a product for, I don't know, 15, 20, 30% cheaper, 40, 50% cheaper, is it better that you wait until that perspective come into fruition, or you tell yourself, convince yourself, I should say, that I don't want to wait that long. Let me just go and pay that now, right? And I'll deal with it later just in case that happens, right? Those are the kind of decisions you have to make. In any realm of asset purchases, you have to realize the game plans that are set out there in terms of how markets work as influencing people to spend money. Sometimes at times where they necessarily don't need to, but again, you get kind of socially, wrapped up into that. Hey, what's going on? Obviously, Ilba, you're in the building. What's going on, Ilba? Happy to have you in the house today, right? As well as everybody else coming in. Over Store in the building, and Brother Deontay and a few others that came in. So thank y'all for coming to the build today. I know you guys are busy, right? All right. So that's again the topic of discussion here. What's going on, family? Everything is everything. I see you in the back side of the building too. On the YouTube side as well. Thank you for tuning in, family. All right. So that's what we're dealing with. So again, tapering, technicals, and timeline. So let's jump right into it. So tapering, right? What is tapering? What do we account for in terms of what does tapering, or what is the effect of tapering on the economy? Anybody want to tackle that?
Scaling back purchases of treasuries and bonds.
All right. So over Chris, right into it, right? Tapering back the asset purchases of what? Treasuries and bonds, right? So what are treasuries? Anybody?
Mortgage-backed securities.
Say again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, basically, mortgage-backed securities or any type of loan or debt incentives.
Right now, you actually giving a descriptive aspect of what they are, but what are they commonly known as? Right, starts with the B word.
Bonds.
Bonds, right? Treasury, definitely. I think you was hitting on that too, over Brandon, right? bonds, right? So a lot of us grew up understanding, that parallel water bonds, right? We heard that before, stocks and bonds, right? You even got games, right? Back in those days, stocks and bonds. Bonds are pretty much what? The debt notes of your what? Your society or your overall economy, right? As they say, the GDP, your gross domestic product based upon, output and input. In layman terms, it's the debt structures, right? It's the borrowed money against your what? Future generations or future innovation. Does that make sense? So if you ever default on those bonds on a macroeconomic perspective, what happens to your economy? Anybody?
Hold on, Owen. So you said that the bond purchasing is the Fed's buying the debt of the economy, right?
They
From
right,
future gener
monetizing debt.
but is it like borrowing money from future generations ahead, or I'm not sure how that exactly works.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're monetizing debt. And actually, under the Constitution, that is actually illegal for any government instrument to do that without obviously what they call fair due process, obviously allowing the economy to kind of work itself out. Meaning, we have this ideology, right? We know it to be true. It's not even an ideology; it's the fact. They tell every investor on the planet, do not invest in what? Any security, asset, or whatever, right? If you what? Are not, understand that you can and will what?
Lose your money.
Right? Lose money without, proper understanding base. I'm putting it in a more lengthier paraphrase, right? Because a lot of us, some of us are new on here, some of us, get it. So they call it sink or swim, right? Sink or swim. Meaning if you sink, that means you got what? Bad data, bad, information, your structure in terms of how you're going back at the market may not be good. So therefore, because of that, your lack of due diligence will cause you to what? To lose money in a place where you're not, that more familiar with it as you should be. Okay, but in the same breath, if you swimming, that means you what? You're making good financial decisions, right? You buying, you purchasing houses at a time when what? There's economic what? Right? Despair, right? Because at that point, interest rates are super low because all these things are happening. The cost of goods and services, before they begin to inflate through inflation, because now the Fed is printing money, but before that, everything that had a little moment was at a sweet spot, right? The cheap spot to buy everything now before it became a problem later, right? So again, those who bought homes when we began to lower rates, right? We got 2/4 basis point rate cuts came out of what? 2018, 2019, right? Into 2020, right? If you think about that, those were scenarios where you had a reduction, right? In some cases of home purchases, about like it is, quarter basis point, we're talking about 25%. Another quarter basis point, you're talking about another what? 25%, so near 50% in some cases. Or in house translation, when you look at it from the treasury perspective, right, or the bonds, right, the interest rate, the 10-year fixed note, the 20-year, and the 30, right? The 30-year is the one that canvases all house purchases, right? If we were sitting at, let's say 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 on the treasury, and now you just got a quarter, a demonstrative rate cut, I should say, in the Treasury Department, well, that brought those rates all the way down to basically where we at now, right? And over time, it has kind of trickled back up, but we were down to like a basic quarter basis point, right? At some point, I think we hit like what, 0.17? I think we looked at it a couple of times on here. When we went to the Treasury site, it was at 0.17.
Mm-hmm.
So that means on a 30-year fixed note on, let's say, a $250,000 house, you were paying, your interest rate was around about what, 1.5, 1.6, maybe 2, right? 2%, based on your credit score, of course, but that's dirt cheap, right? We're talking about 2% on, $250,000, right? Or 2% on $500,000 or $1 million house, right? That ain't hard to do when you think about it, even from, $1 million perspective, right? 2% of $1 million is what? What's 2% of $1 million? That's 20,000. Let that marinate. So that means the interest on $1 million house was like $20,000. Some of y'all pay for that on a good trade day in the market, right? You catch a good stock, right? You catch a GameStop or AMC, you done paid your interest off in that moment. Let that marinate. Again, those are, real world situations, obviously based upon a lot of things aligning themselves, but that's the microeconomics that feed that macro, right? So the Feds obviously did like, not to say what everybody should do. They tried to get ahead of the COVID crisis by what? Pumping money into the market to liquefy banks, lending agencies, to help the housing sector, because these are the biggest debt structures or biggest debt notes that make up our economy. Would y'all agree with that? House purchases, right? That's some of the biggest debt that we have on our books, right?
Yeah.
Y'all follow me there? So
Yeah.
if those, right, mortgage-backed securities, right? They call it MBSs, right? Right. So if you ever see that MBS term, that what they say about mortgage-backed securities, right? If those things default, what happens to your economy? If your citizens or patrons begin to lose their houses, what happens to your economy?
Crash.
Things gonna crash. Your economy gonna crash. I mean, yeah, you got people losing their houses. How they gonna get to work? They got a place to stay. That means people's lives are now disrupted. That means your economy is going to be what? Disrupted. So the first thing they ran to was, let's go protect some of our biggest assets that we have out there, which is going to be what? Home loans, right? That's why the moratoriums kicked in right away. They start protecting people from being kicked out their houses, even renting, right? All that kind of folds within that same dichotomy. Now, what's interesting again, if you're going to incentivize debt, right, which is the Fed, that's what they did. Actually, it's unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional. But somehow they got a green light based upon the Treasury Department giving them the go ahead, because the Feds actually work for who? The Treasury Department, right? They're an independent agency. We had this conversation before, but I want to have it again because this conversation is very important going in the back end of the year, right? What's going on, Eva? Monica, see you then popped in the building. All right, peace, power, and profit to you as well.
Feds work for Treasury. What?
Yeah. What's going on? So you're 100% right, Overstore. The Feds work for the Treasury Department. The Feds are an independent structure. When I say the Fed, let me correct that. The Federal Reserve, right? Because some of y'all like, y'all talking about the Fed, the FBI Fed, not the alphabet boys, right? The Federal Reserve, right? The Central Bank of America, which is known as the Federal Reserve, they work for the Treasury Department. They are independent agency. They are not even tied to this government. Y'all with me? Or are y'all confused about this?
Yep. Got it.
With you.
All right. So that way we're not confused when you hear people talking about the Federal Reserve and this. No, these people they were a project that spun out of necessity that was supposed to end when things balanced itself out, actually going back, it's way early during the economic time, what we call the, when we went through our boom and bust cycle back in the 1920s and 30s, all that, they came about as a necessity, and they were supposed to dissolve themselves and go back to what they came out of thin air, this special, organization, right? Well, they kept them around, right? And so they allowed these people to basically collect all this data about American, spending habits, purchasing habits, and CPI and PPI, meaning producers price index, meaning how much people, goods and services that they're producing, all this stuff, right? And now they've amassed this level of power where they now control, literally, they control your livelihood in the aspect of how they, volley up or down interest rates based upon, again, these things we talk about, these microeconomic factors in housing, car purchases, products that you buy in the grocery store, wood, steel, aluminum, copper, zinc, iridium, right? I'm just kidding. Now, palladium, rhodium, all that stuff, right? They're kind of keeping up with all those different things. Now, technically, that's not really their job. It's not. That's the market's job. The market's supposed to do that. That's why they call it the capital free markets, right? They call it that, but we know that the markets are not free right now. Why are the markets not free right? Why are the markets not free right now? Anybody want to tackle that? Why are the markets not a free entity that we all should, should have access to, which we still can, but freely to make that deciding factor?
Our federal government, man, they don't operate to where we can have a free market.
Well, they've only been given this green light or being gaslit because of what?
The Australian mindset.
With the Austrian, right? What's it? Austrian is a free, but that was a free market enterprise. Basically, it comes underneath, right? free market enterprise comes under the what? The Austrian school of thought, right? Austrian school of thought. And then there's the Keynesian side, right? The Keynesian side is basically dealing with what? Government control, right? Government control of markets mean that they are now the proprietaries of how they feel like markets should be able to function under what they consider to be data sets that tells them whether or not, you know, we need to throttle up or throttle down, and basically manipulating the markets to meet the mandate of what they feel like the economy needs to be stable. Does that make sense a little bit? Just kind of putting it in, you know, in this kind of picture a little bit. But what that really does, it disturbs the true nature and flow of how markets are supposed to react, right? Again, what is it saying that they say? Sink or swim, right? Meaning if you make a bad investment, that investment decision was on who? On you, right? So if the government says, okay, well, if we're going to take control of this, if they make bad decision, executive decision, meaning these corporate CEOs, whatever, are making bad decisions for the ultimate good of their corporation, right? Meaning executive bonuses, buying the stock back and not necessarily innovating, what they call R&D spending or CapEx spending, capital expenditure spending. Well, guess who's going to suffer on the back end? The shareholders. Why? Because that money is not used for being put to work as it's supposed to be. Because keep in mind, this is shareholders putting money into the company for the company to go out there and build a bigger and more expansive, you know, growth-laden company, right? That they can benefit from what? Their investment dollars, right? That's the basic perspective, right? But we figured out that these corporations have figured out how to what? Utilize the taxpayers as a what? A get out of jail free card for their bad economic what? Habits, basically. The 2008 crash, whose fault was that? Right? Ask yourself that. Whose fault was the 2008 crash that happened in the markets? Right? A lot of it fell on the real estate side of the house because of subprime lending, right? The subprime lending crash, right? Adjustable rate mortgages, you know, it was just a mess. But who benefited from that? Did the people who lost their houses benefit from it? Or did corporation benefit the most from that moment? You're breaking up, Sister Monica.
Corporation.
The corporations, right? Because they got what? A bailout from who? They got a bailout from who?
Federal government.
The federal government, right? Or even, I'll just say, even a little deeper, they got a bailout from the same people that got kicked out in the streets. Make that make sense?
What is a bailout?
Go ahead, Oba.
What is a bailout? What do you mean by that?
So a corporate bailout, right? So a corporate bailout, let's think about it in terms of the words, corporate bailout. So who can bail out a corporation? There's only two entities that can bail out a corporation, right?
Right.
It's shareholder or share structure or stakeholders, right?
Right.
Or the government, right?
Okay.
There's who else can, you know, handle such a what? A ticket, right? Of debt. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So now you're saying, I mean, us as the general public, we are now in charge of bailing out bad mismanagement of what? Corporations or corporate entities to the tune where we're not going to fund these same people who took advantage of us from a predatory perspective so they can continuously what? Making these bad decisions in the future because they know that they're going to be protected. Make that make sense. So ultimately, go ahead. Sorry.
You saying the people that invest in them bail them out?
Okay. And not just the investors, because there's two types of streets in America, right? Y'all know this, right? What are the two streets in America? There's only two types of streets in America. What are them streets
Wall
are?
Street and Main Street.
Wall Street and Main Street, right? Where do the majority of Americans fall in terms of those two streets? Where do Americans fall at? The
Main Street.
The boat, or I should say, they follow Main Street side, right? Meaning there's a lot of people out there who are not invested in the markets. They're just average, everyday, hardworking people, right? The only assets that they particularly own are basically going to be what? The houses that they're, at some point are working so hard to be able to purchase, right? You can't really count cars, okay, but you can, but it's not really that kind of level of a lucrative purchase, right? Especially for middle class, right? What's going on, Obazay? What's going on, Obaj? See y'all in the building over there. And the Wall Street side is what the stakeholders of America at. So they value stakeholders on the Wall Street side of the house more important than the taxpayers of Main Street. Why is that?
Say that again.
Why do, in terms of the overall economy picture, or even the government, I'm gonna go on to say that, why do they value stakeholders of Wall Street more than that of the Main Street average everyday Americans?
They own assets.
They own assets.
Value. Yep, they add value to them.
They add value to.
They leverage their assets to get more.
Right? Y'all with us with that? Everybody understanding that? Everybody on the same page here with that? Anybody confused about that?
What do you mean by that? Whoever's talking leverage their leverage their value.
Assets,
Yeah.
leverage the value of your asset, because when you buy their shares or even in the bank, when you put your money in there, they take your money and they go make more money off of it. So they leverage what you have to get more. They don't share it with you. They're not going to share it with you. You're only going to get what you bought into or you signed up for, which is that 1%. And then whatever in the market of what your knowledge base can take you to. So they leverage your asset to get more. So I call it cash producing asset, cash asset cash. You give me cash, or you give me cash, I get an asset to go make more cash.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Over?
Yeah.
So that's the rolling, and I'm gonna say this, and no insert term, that's the rolling hustle. That's the rolling hustle of America's I should say economic umbrella structure.
Ooh,
Again, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna. As a matter of fact, I learned something this past week. With my uncle's funeral, he had a loan, and the loan company took out insurance on the loan.
On the loan itself.
And they ask you, what percentage, like they'll share it with you, but how many people even know that these people actually take loans out? When you take a loan out with them, that they take insurance out on that particular loan. So when you don't pay, you think you're losing, they're gonna get both ways. They're gonna cash in that insurance policy to get money. You pay them and they get more money after.
Is that even legally possible for them to do that?
I don't know if it's legally possible, but it sure I just witnessed it happen firsthand. I was like, wait, what just happened? And it was like, yeah. And then one, they was like, yeah, we I think he had like a 60-40 split with the policy. So my uncle passed. So when his wife went to go and close out things, they told her, you get your check 7 to 10 days. We get this much and you get that much. Yes, sir. They pay out whatever the balance is and keep the rest of the money on the insurance policy. Yes.
Let that marinate for a moment.
Yes, and someone is telling me about that being done with mortgages as well, but you have to you got to liquidate it within the first 3 years or something like that. But I haven't witnessed that part of the mortgage piece of it, but I sure witnessed the loan company part of it, where you take out a loan, they take out an insurance policy on the loan. So when you can't pay it, they cash in that insurance policy. But in this case, my uncle passed, so we had to close it out anyway. So they paid off whatever was left on the loan, whatever percentage of the insurance policy went to the wife, and they kept the remaining amount. But you spoke on that before, I think, Oba, about personnel, about companies that's working for corporations and them taking insurance policies out on you.
We watched the documentary last year. We did a whole documentary piece on it.
I think I heard that somewhere before.
We saw it. Remember, because Walmart did it to that one lady that worked at the bakery. They put insurance policy out on top of her policy that she thought she was getting in the event of her death. They made millions of dollars off her death. Mind you, we're not talking about, a person got a $20,000 SGLI or, $40,000 SGLI or, a level of term life or even a whole life policy. They had a policy backup on an employee's life, an employee. Now, this is not even a real stakeholder in the company. This is an employee, right? A revolving door person that come in and go out. They put an insurance policy over that woman's life. So, and when she died, because she had this kind of condition or whatever it was, I guess it was a cancer something, they collected millions of dollars off her death. And guess what they gave the family?
Nothing.
Zero, because they didn't know about it.
No, they give peanuts.
Exactly.
Let that marinate for a moment, guys. This is the economy that we all swear by. A lot of us jump up and down. Woo, I go to McDonald's at 2 a.m. in the morning. We good, we living. Now, of course, it ain't, like a lot of the other places out there. We know that there's some stuff out there. We might not be kind of cut for that, right? We cut from a different cloth living in America, granted, right? However, what's going on over Rich being the seat in the building? All right, what's going on over Son SC in the building over there on the YouTube side as well, right? But this is what we have to deal with. You have to know, as I always like to say, you have to know the rules of engagement, guys. Because, again, we've made this conversation many times. They make money off your what? Your birth. They make money off your pre-birth, right? Your pre-birth, prenatal care, all this extensive, going to the doctor, this, that, and third. They make money off what? Grooming you throughout life. Obviously, influencing your life through the what? The food, the culture, the music, all that. And then they turn around and make money off your what? Off your death, right? The first thing that they get on you, day one, is a what? A CUSIP number. What is that CUSIP number?
Social security number.
Your social security number is a CUSIP number. Legally binded and bonded. Last word, legally binded and what? Bonded.
Bonded.
Our social security number is a bond. This is the moment when I dropped the mic. Now, some of you guys already know this, right? But a lot of people don't understand that your social security number is actually the bond. Now, this is when they, the Moores brothers, they get all excited. Oh, I'm gonna cash in on my bond, right? Remember, I did it on this show several times. I pulled up mine, and I showed you how much mine was worth once it matured. And I went to the government website. I didn't go to no shit. This was straight to the Treasury Department, right? Pulled it up, and then lies, what a lot of people, to their horror, to some people, they were like, what is this, right? Yeah, that's how America does business, right? So they're gonna make money, again, up and down the spectrum over your life. And during some economic boom and bust cycles is when the getting is really good, as opposed to when it's not so much possibly, it's, that's how they kind of still feed into the structure of being able to capitalize on what? American money. That money or the maturity of that bond, it gets absorbed back into the what? Into the system. Keep in mind, it's your money though, but it gets absorbed back into the system. I mean, they got this thing rolling along like it's a fine, tune machine. No one's asking all the right questions. They can care less because they feel like if they get their slice of the pie, I need not have to worry. See how that works? So it's those who are in the know and those who are not in the know, right? Main Street versus who? Wall Street. Hence, again, like Sister Monica said, over Brandon, over Chris, and many of you, I think Sister Full, she jumped in too. This is why you guys, again, when we think about it, you have to know, again, the importance of your position as stakeholders in America as a citizen, right? You are actually a stakeholder, whether you invest in the person, assets, that appreciate or not. You're counted as one, basically what I'm saying. They're making money just off your citizenship, right? Why not take it a step further? Why not take it a step further and understand your power as a person who can invest in assets, appreciating assets, to now get some of that money back out of the system, void you having to work extensively hard for it. I mean, y'all know what I mean when I say work extensively hard for it. Elbows, knees, backs, elbows, right? You're just using this one right here, the greatest muscle you got, using this one here. right? Why not take advantage of that opportunity and understand how this system works in a way where you can capitalize on it? Why? Because all the smart people out there, when I say smart people, meaning the people who have been groomed for this, that's what I mean by that. Not that y'all ain't smart. The people have been groomed for this, meaning they have got it from day one. They've been pipelined into this what? Into the economic side of the house, because they know this is how you're going to survive. America's greatest hustle is that it convinces its citizens that what? They are the most important thing ever, and they're what? Totality of the economy, but they are the what? They are the peons that are being preyed on every day. And people go along with it. Why? Because they feel like there's certain amenities that afford them under the system that they can take advantage of. Social Security, SSI, right? What is some Medicaid, right? No, that's it, Medicaid, not Medicare, because there's a difference, right? Welfare system, stuff like that. Those kind of things. Make sense? Now, that's not the totality of what the true money or the stakeholders are really excited about. They're excited about what? Asset purchases that have the ability to appreciate. And it's all controlled by this right here. So let me jump over here really quick here. We're going to get a lot to this meat and potato stuff, and we're going to get on out of here for the evening. Let's jump to it. See right here? What am I shouldn't have went all the way to the top, but I already did it. All right, what am I looking at right here? I guess I kind of went too fast. What am I looking at right here, guys? Y'all probably already see it now at this point. What am I looking at right here?
The interest rates.
Interest rates?
Interest rate.
The 10-year bond?
Whose interest rates?
10-year. Oh.
Y'all on the same path. Right?
America's?
You gonna scroll to the middle of the screen like that?
Yeah, that throw y'all off a little bit. I went too fast. I tried not to jump the gun. I went too fast. Right? You right, Overstore, till you said it, right? It's America's. This is
America's.
This is y'all money. Or the adverse aspect of how it's all volatile, right? Volatile inspecting, it kind of goes up and go down based upon spending habits, whatever. This is y'all economy. Right? So again, this U.S. Treasury or U.S. Department of Treasury, right? So again, this public site, because it's public information. And just going back at the beginning of the year, right? You had the 1 year sitting at, the 1 month sitting at 0.909, basically about a 0.09% interest, of that of a dollar, perspective, you want to use that, right? And then, all the way out to the 30 year, right? So again, we're looking at the beginning of the year about a 1.66. Now, keep in mind, before that, we had been exorbitantly a lot lower, right? Because again, COVID, interest rates got cut, reduced. That last basic quarter point came around end of February, middle of February, somewhere around there, when the Feds did that last cut. And then everything since then just been what? Quantitative easing and asset purchasing, right? Reverse repo operations, etc., which has been going on since 2018. Anyway, they never stopped that, right? They never had stopped that. But again, this is just showing you how just in this year alone, going back to the fourth here, how the interest rates, even on the 30 year, has slowly, incrementally what? Climbed. See right here? Climb. See right here? During March, let's say February, March, you see it got in the twos and around between February and March. You see right here, it got up as high as like 2.42, 2.43. It kept volleying at that high peak point around about 2.43, even in March. Y'all see that there? What was happening during that time frame that caused it to kind of fluctuate up around those points? What y'all would surmise that would cause, the 30-year fixed note at that point to start spazzing out like that?
I'll talk about opening the economy.
Think about the 30-year note. What is the 30-year treasury bond tied to?
Mortgages.
Real estate.
Right? Real estate, right? So my real estate mortgage rates, right?
Okay. So
if we were already at quarter base point, which we still are at the quarter base point right now, and based in terms of interest rates, meaning the actual average overall national interest rate is at a quarter base point, then you have the the various entities after that they're kind of moving from. Housing market went through the roof, right? Because I'm been smiling because my little properties, they just went through the roof. I'm like, they look good on paper, right? I ain't selling.
Amen.
Right? They look good. Don't think I'm like, woo. What? We talking about 100,000 plus,
Yeah.
100,000 plus, 100,000 plus in less than 1 year. Y'all know how hard that is to get in a house, right? In terms of house appreciation, we talking about 2-3% typically on a per annum basis. We got that like overnight, an instant, just cash out if you want to. Well, it had to be something that caused that, right? What was causing that? Anybody want to take a stab at that? What was causing that?
Investors with cash.
Say
It
again?
was buying,
Investors with cash buying up properties around the country.
it was buying those junk bonds.
Well, you had to scramble. You had to scramble for property, right? Scramble for property, right? Because every time there's a scarcity, that also makes prices what
Yeah,
go
high
up, right?
demand.
High
Supply and
demand.
demand.
We just talked about it, supply and demand for a reason. When there's an exhaustion of buyers, what happens to that? You know, that asset or that value, right? It kind of hitting peak what? Peak performance, right?
Right.
Peak value, peak valuation, as they call it, right? That's the one of the underlying factor. What was the other underlying factor that caused that? Anybody? And this is
buying back.
Lumber.
Low interest rate.
now y'all getting there, right? Well, low interest rate got them in the building, right? But on top of that, and somebody just said it too, is
Lumber prices.
so lumber is also known as what? Starts with a C
A
word.
commodity.
So what happened in the commodities market? It started what?
Starts spiking up.
It start going up or going down?
What commodity?
Yeah. Did they go up or they go down?
Down and
They went up.
They went what?
They went up.
They went up. The price of what? Goods and services start going what?
Up.
Right?
Because inflation.
That means if a 2x4 or 2x4, let's say a 2x4 slab at Home Depot, you were just paying $239, right? For a 2x4 slab, right? It has now gone up to $423, $434. What happened? That's almost 100% increase on that 2x4 slab. I come in as a contractor, the carpenter. I'm buying wood to build somebody's house. That means the cost of good of the lumber
Material.
itself.
Yeah.
That makes the house consequently more what?
More expensive.
Expensive now. That's where we can get into the land assessments and all that stuff. Whatever. Just the true cost of the lumber of itself, the steel, the rebar, the drywall, all that stuff that go in all that stuff went up. The aluminum, the copper, it went up. Why? Because it became to be what? A scarcity of those what? Those items. What is that? Well, how does that make sense, brother? Make that make sense. Well, if you don't have people at work at the mills to cut wood to produce the lumber to equal out the what? Supply from the demand, what happens? Those goods and services go up. And on top of that, that's just one factor. On top of that, the feds are doing what? Buying everything they can. Junk bonds, muni bonds, mortgage-backed securities, like we talked about MBSs, right? The mortgage-backed security, they buying all this back-end debt up to pad for what they feel like will come down in the future when people go back to work. But are people returning back to work in droves to equal out production to that of what? Spending. They're not. COVID got people still on the sideline today. People still like, bruh, even though they're going to take back this unemployment and all this stuff and rent moratorium, I'm still scared to go back out into the workforce. So essentially, the feds are what? Wrecking the what? The economy through their asset purchases.
Yep. Money printing 101.
They're drowning out Main Street ability to work themselves back into what? A form of equilibrium to be able to handle that debt structure that was kind of set in place because of COVID. They are artificially pumping money into the market, which devalues your what? Your what?
Dollar.
It devalues your dollar. You can take one, like take whatever and then tear them in half and just go on about your business, because that's basically what it's gonna be worth. Half of what it's worth. Hypothetically, of course, y'all get what I'm saying. Right? Matter of fact, the USD dollar is sitting at what, 90, 92 right now after this last pump that happened Friday. That means your dollar's buying power is 92% of basically 100%. Now, some people say that's a lot, brother. What would you mean? That's still a lot. Really? At the rate of
Is it
inflation
not?
every year, at the rate the cost of living goes up every year, at the rate of commodities that fluctuate throughout the year, go up and down, gas prices go up and down. If that dollar stays hover in around that spot, that means if you ain't getting no extra bumps in your pay raise or increase, what happens to your buying power the following year? You're actually in the negative.
It loses value.
It's
Yeah.
just losing value.
That's
And
why
you
they
don't have.
say by the
Mhm.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Mhm.
I said that's why they say buy gold and silver, buy metals, because metals is actual money, and it kind of secures your wealth, or it's a hedge against having assets and stuff like that against inflation.
Right, that's that ubiquitous hedge, right? They call it the ubiquitous hedge, right? It's the diametric opposite to what? Paper money. Which we know paper
Right.
money is basically called what?
Fiat.
What is it? It's
Currency.
called fiat, right? Fiat paper, right? Basically monopoly money, right? So because it's a forward valuation on your what? On your debt. That's why I call it a debt note. Look on your money, right? Y'all hold cash. If you held cash in a minute, right? A lot of us ain't using cash because of COVID. But that's why I say it's what? Federal debt note on it, and not what? Like a cash note or reserve note. It's called a federal debt note. $1 is worth $1 worth of debt. Got it, right? So you're balling with debt. You're not balling with what? A surplus. Everything that they have now got you intertwined in has to deal with debt. If you're constantly on the debt balling chain, that means you're always what? You're always on paper in terms of what? Owing somebody. Right? And so just like Sister Monica was saying, if you ever default on that debt, die, your estate value, guess what? They come collect. Or they put policies out on you and things of that nature, just in case, they're trying to protect their what? Their debt investment in you. So what the feds was doing and have been doing, they have been incentivizing debt. They've been backstopping all the debt. Now, some people say that's a good thing for people that just went under because of COVID. They ain't got to work. It keep them from being, losing their houses outright. And okay, granted, to a degree for those who own houses, right? Granted, to a degree that it says that, okay, at least there's some kind of form of a backstop in play to protect maybe one little asset that I do own that has appreciating value. And that's fine, right? That's fine with me. So walk me 2 seconds here. So if that's the case, let's say we've been at this now a year and 5 months, somewhere around there, about a year and 6 months since COVID really hit. Now, banks obviously have the power to restructure debt, kind of, work in tandem to that of keeping people invested into their properties. Now, we just looked at the interest rates here, right? Matter of fact, let's go to 2020, right? And I'm going somewhere with this. We're not going to make this long, but I want to show you how we kind of started out.
Hey, over real quick, stash party if y'all want to get some free money.
Oh, they did it again. I saw the first one got botched.
They had the wrong time on it, so it's going on right now.
They started again. Okay, yes, they had it for. Let me do this real quick, guys. I'm sorry. Cause I know I went in and like, man, this thing it did like it always do it. That crazy stuff. Let me see. Oh, yep, they got Gap. Yep, so Gap. So they brought it back. All right, so there it is. All right, so this is the pause for the cause moment where we get our little, our little moment in right now. Get paid, right? Anybody got some bars? Anybody got some bars for the stash party? Now, free money there, guys. This is our free money haul moment right now. Some of you guys might be familiar with Stash. They just give away free money like this, and people would have no clue. Couldn't make this stuff up. But that's why we're in this space and everybody else is not, because we just know how to get money freely, literally, just for having an account.
What?
Right? So yeah, we'll get you caught up, brother. All right, brother. Yep, brother Stewart, we got you. No worry, we'll get you turned on. All right, but that's the cash out there real quick. We're going to get that Gap stock. All right, so shout out to Oprah Chris keeping everybody on point. All right, thank you, Oprah, for that. All right, you guys want to cash in over there on the YouTube side? You got your stash account. I'm pretty sure some of y'all did, right? Right, so
Mm-hmm.
let's jump right on back into this, right? Because we're gonna make money one with the other, right? We get money when people out there not making money. We still making money, right? So again, look where the interest rates were at the beginning of 2020. This before COVID became the international scare that it became to be. Mind you, again, we're talking about the first, second day in 2020, right? Biden takes office, whatever, right? Or Trump or whomever, not Trump, Trump was still in office, excuse me. But the idea of going into that aspect of his last year to really start to put into practice whether or not he's fit in terms of a GDP rated president to lead the country for 4 more years, right? So they base stuff on interest rate, how well he performed. Of course, y'all know most presidents try to get at least about what they say about a 3 to 4% GDP on average out of their 4 years. That's about a good average, about a 4%. Everybody's always like to shoot for about 6, right? If you get 6, that means you're doing really good. I think last time we had presidents that up in that area was around what? I think Bill Clinton, right? But either way you look at it, well, the 30 was sitting at about 2.3, right? Now, and translates to a 2.3 30 year, that means the average American was paying around about what? 3% or 4%, right? Right? Because that's that markup, right? So then came the cuts, right? Then came COVID, and you're gonna see a drastic drop. You went basically from 2.3 to around March, right? That's when everything began to start hit the system. Around March and April, we got down to like what, 1.2. That's a big drop. That's a massive drop in interest rates. When you guys may be familiar with that, that means yields began to what? Plummet, right? Because everybody started running and buying what? Bonds, right? The Fed started buying bonds. Everybody started buying bonds because they have to flight to safety, right? Because they feel like growth stocks and value stocks are obviously at that point we're going to be in trouble. Now, okay, as you see, as we go out through the year, everything was around about 1.4, 1.3, 1.2. I mean, y'all see here, it's just volume, right? Between that 1.3, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5, and then at the end of the year, it picked back up a little bit, right? Got up to like 1.6, 1.5, 1.7, stayed in that range for a good little while, all the way into what? To end the year about 1.6, right? Now you're starting to see the aspect of, the bond purchases that were happening, the reality that, okay, the economy is not going to reopen the way they thought it was going to open, all this stuff like that. So they had started buying goods and services to try to front run the reopening of what they thought would happen based upon we were able to kind of put COVID back into the bottle, right? Genie out the bottom, put it back in the bottle. Well, they were all wrong. So now that made the people who cut the wood and produced the steel and the iron and the bauxite and all this stuff, the iron ore, they got ahead of themselves to the point where there was not enough consumers to fulfill that need, right? And then the lack of shortage in terms of people who were able to work these places was scarce, right? So you just was working with a very limited supply as it was. Now it's even worse because, again, the consumers are not necessarily spending enough to kind of equal out your inventory. Moving forward to where we're at now, 2021, when the significance of this is that now we've hit that culmination where all this stuff is starting to implode on itself. Again, gas prices are all over the place. Now, even though we know we're going to have a flux next week because of what? Hurricane Ida. So shout out to everybody going through Hurricane Ida right now. It's a catastrophe that no one wants to ever be a part of. We went through this with Katrina. We understand how this stuff works now. When there's a shortage in gas, what happens to the price of oil? Anybody?
Goes up.
It goes up.
It goes up. So what does that really mean as far as the oil commodity market? That means there's a flight of appreciation of those who've been sitting in the stock, holding it as a what? As a form of a bond in a sense, right? A bond incentive for this commodity, right? Because those kind of level of catastrophes or disasters cause a what? A shortage in the supply chain. Does that make sense? Therefore, causing the price to go what? Up at the gas station. Right? So we already know Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, parts of Arkansas, all up in that little Tennessee, they finna feel it at the pump. Now, it's not just those areas, but guess what? It's going to affect everybody what? Nationally. Make sense? It's not just, oh, that's just Louisiana problem. No, the oil market is tied to everybody what? Based upon the COMEX readout, right? So that's a global readout, right?
Yeah.
In our case, they call it the WTI, the weird shot, right? So we already know that instrument is going to really relay whether or not, you know, where we at in terms of how we're going to be paying for price of gas on our side. So right now, if we run over there to the WTI really quick here. Right? Again, thank y'all for being patient. As always, I like to say that, all right? Because we're trying to break down a little bit of this stuff here that we're going to, you know, get in and get out, as they say, right? All right. All right. Oh, let me go to destiny.com. I don't know why I just didn't go to the regular site. All right. So let's go to commodities really quick here. Can y'all see my screen here? Are we showing here? All right. So make sure it's showing over there. Okay. Can y'all see my screen on that side too? All right. Yes, it's pulling up. Okay. Awesome. So right now, WTI, right? Oh, that's performance table. Let me go to the actual industry feature, and let's go over to the commodity side. All right, 1 second here. So as of Friday's close, right, we closed up at $68.72 a barrel, right? As y'all see, right, the accrued WTI. So that basically means for a 50-gallon drum barrel of oil, it costs, you know, the supplier, obviously, you know, to have it, you know, shipped out to the consumer, whatever. The cost of that barrel basically is going to be $68.72, right? Now, again, the importance of, let's say, fossil fuels or whatever the case, in the terms of when you have a case like this or a disaster, right? The supply chain is going to be disrupted, right? Matter of fact, they shut down the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know if y'all saw that article, but 95% of the Gulf of Mexico oil production rigs was shut down to that capacity of 95%. So only 5% working capacity, 95% shut down. So that means now you're gonna have what? All that you have in reserves or whatever, you're gonna have to go through that, use that until they iron out that situation, or the hurricane scenario kind of unwinds itself. That's gonna cause a shortage, right? Because they're constantly having to pump oil to supply, right? Keep what they call the reserves, right, filled up. Right? We went through that actually during the middle of tariffs, right? How they had all that oil sitting out there in the middle of the oceans, and they couldn't even dock on ports because of COVID. They had locked everybody from coming in, so it was just sitting out to sea, just sitting out there waiting to, hopefully not pull an Exxon Valdez, right? Long story short story long, when that level of scarcity is in play, prices go up. So stakeholders demand, of needing that product or that service now gives you, the shareholder, the ability to take advantage of that of owning those assets, appreciating assets, because of the nature of the business, or that it provides you as a shareholder, where you can benefit off, the total, total macroeconomic picture of how international markets work, how the commodities markets work in terms of houses, wood, lumber, whatever, steel, aluminum, whatever. Where you can now take advantage of that from the comfort of your home, again, cell phone, on the job, wherever, and you now could be a power player on the Wall Street side of the house, as opposed to just sitting on the Main Street side of the house, waiting to get liquidated. Because that's basically how it's going to work, right? Either you can keep up, right, or they're going to what? Consume you, right? Ain't no other way. There's no middle ground in this. I'm sorry, guys. There's no middle way. What there is the middle ground, but we know that ain't gonna happen. Right? The middle ground is that what? A revolution kick off. Now I don't know too many people really about that life as they say they is, but that's it. That's your only options. Either you have to get into the game, or they're gonna continuously what? Steal from you. Because these are the only games in town that the government is going to what? Acknowledge and or respect. So if we're going to work twice as hard to receive twice as less, then it's time for us to start thinking twice as smart to receive twice as more, and play ball based upon the rules of engagement, right? If the feds are saying, hey, we're going to spend $120 billion every single month on mortgage-backed security, or they spending basically what, 40 million on mortgage-backed security based on the mortgage debt, and then 80 billion on what? Treasury bonds, right? T-notes. They're buying the what? Interest rates, basically, to keep them artificially what? Lower, right?
Mhm.
Keep yields lower. That means they can keep people, businesses, corporations at a point where they can what? Finance more capital, more debt at low interest rates to buy whatever they're going to buy with it, right? To keep their so-called businesses running what? Smoothly. Now, not mind you that people on the Main Street side of the house can barely, keep food on the table because inflation rates are starting to going higher and higher. That's based upon the Feds messing up the market. They're driving the cost of goods and services up by pumping artificial money into markets and not allowing the market to kind of work itself out on its own. That's how this stuff works. Quit make this stuff up. That's how the rules of engagement work. Does that make sense? You guys with me? I know I'm saying a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Going off on a tangent a little bit, but this is good because we're getting ready to get into the back end of the year, which we talked about this last year. Like I say, we was like, next year, around this time, summertime, oh, it's gonna be fireworks in the market. Why? Because we're gonna have what? A definitive answer whether or not we back, or we gonna be back, or this is gonna be worse than it was that we thought. Right? Meaning they're gonna mismanage the data and they're gonna either overshoot, because they always gonna overshoot. That's the American way, right? That what my military family had in here. Military good for what? Overpaying for what? For peanut price items. Right? They're wasteful. Mind you, they're not wasting that money on you. They're not wasting that money on you and me. They're wasting that money on who? Who are they wasting that money on?
Wall Street, corporate.
Well, corporate. The crude, WTI, right? The producers of the oil, the producers of the lumber liquidators, and all these, they wasting money on those guys. Apple, Netflix, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft. They're betting on them. But see how this works? Without, you guys, is there a Microsoft? Is there Amazon? Is
No,
there
we
Apple?
invested in them.
Say again?
We had invested in them.
Well, again, I'm saying void of our investment dollars into them as a stakeholder, but as an actual consumer, if you start spending money with Apple, Amazon, and those companies, can they survive at the level that they survive at?
No.
Think about that, right? The only way
Without the consumer, no.
They got us and the feds.
that's the caveat. It's the who.
Have they can't get eat it
The
too?
consumer.
Right? We're saying void of the consumer. Who else do they have?
The feds.
Investors.
Right? They got
Too big to
investors,
let them fail.
and then they got what? The feds. They have a double layer of protection.
Yeah.
Because they can always raise capital by what? Diluting the shares of the shareholder, right? Dilution, right? Y'all know, we know about these offerings, right? If not that, they can tap the credit market, right? They can tap some of their bond holders, right? And then on a superlative level, they can tap who? The feds. In this case, the feds voluntarily said, "No, what? Don't even worry about it. We're going to do it for you."
Got you.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
This is how this stuff is setting up, where you're finna have the potential cataclysmic pullback in the markets, because for the past year and 6 months, they're being what they consider to be, it's been longer than that, but we'll just stick for the script of the coronavirus scenario, right? Or the COVID scenario. Pardon my euphemism here. There's been a cocaine injection into the markets every single day for a year and 7+ months. Let that marinate. every day. While it was politicking about giving you a little penny and a little stimulus check and kicking the can down the road about want to take care of American citizens, stock markets haven't missed not one meal.
So didn't.
And that's $120 billion every month from the Feds in their mandate and asset purchase. That's not even counting the reverse repo operations. See, that kind of flies on the radar a lot. Why? Because smart people on the analyst side that deals with finance and economics, they know not to make that a big deal. Why? Because they don't want taxpayers to see that, oh, but they also spending about $1 billion to $1 trillion every day of recycled money back into the stock market to keep it going higher and higher, or at least stabilize it and not dropping. Yet they won't pump none of that money into Main Street to really backstop a lot of the hurting that people are really dealing with on that side. They fight, they literally pulling teeth to not to want to give you extra incentive of what? Unemployment benefits. Why? Because they feel like they keep giving you that money, you're gonna sit home and not want to go to work. Well, basically that's what Wall Street doing. We sitting home and doing what? Not working. We just letting the market do what it does. Does that make sense? Think about that for a moment. Right? Therein lies the balance. Therein lies the hustle. If they can convince you to just, hey, it's the price of doing tea in China to be America. You want this freedom. You want to be about that life. You want to be able to go to McDonald's at 2 in the morning, get you a little McFlurry burger or whatever them things is, and get indigestion and gas and burp, and you play your music live and pop your guns off in the air when you spin out the driveway. Guess what?
Yeah.
You see how that works? That's the price of doing business in America.
Yep.
Because they know a lot of people are content with that and that only. Let that marinate for a moment. Because they are the constant what? Host to the parasite of the what? The system. Right? I know I'm kind of on my soapbox, but I'm on the economic, structure side of the house. But I'm saying all that for a reason. Why? Because you're now having to start the plan. You're going to have to start planning for what's going to come on the back end of the year. Right? GDP is still marginally increasing. But again, we always use the base effect, right? We talked about that before. What is the base effect? The base effect is basically saying what? You coming from a base perspective, engaging what? Performance and growth. Now, notwithstanding, we was up here before the big drop that we had back in March. Everything kind of went to what? Hell in the handbasket. So everything from the bottom looks what? Looks bigger. Make sense?
Yep.
So that data, when it comes out, it looks bigger to the average person. Oh, this is great. We had a 3.2 increase in GDP. Really? No, that's coming from the base effect. You ain't really balling like that. You ain't about that life. In essence, to that of the inflation that's overhanging over Main Street, the lack of employment that's going on in Main Street, and the level of debt that they're incurring because they having to kind of tap credit, pay for goods and services because ain't no work, ain't no production happening. See how that work? There's a bottleneck effect about to happen. And this is the end result. So the Fed says, okay, it's transitory. It's going to work itself through the system as soon as people get back to work. Again, convince me and show me how everybody running to get back to work. Yeah, y'all know this whole debt to equity ratio balancing act that they always say that we're supposed to live by.
Mm-hmm.
Show me how that's work, how that's really playing out in a way we can say, okay, we good. It's not. So they got to keep telling the average American that we okay, we doing okay. It could be worse. Well, basically what they're saying is, yeah, y'all about a month or two away from being liquidated, right? Right? If we can't effectively convince y'all to get back to work and work hard to balance out everything that we've been doing because we just been taking y'all money, y'all future generation money, y'all kids money, and your present money, and we've been giving it to who? Wall Street. We've been giving it to them. Because we feel like if we can keep them in business, they'll at least offer you products that you can go buy at some point, and that help out the economy. Make that make sense to me. How is it if I can't go to work? How am I about these goods and services? I need the help, right? Corporations don't need that. Y'all get it. So markets are like, okay, we spoiled, we're entitled. Y'all dare not leave us out to hang because we make up the economy. They got Wall Street thinking that they make up the actual economy. and by what they call necessity value. When I say necessity, meaning or the lack thereof in terms of other asset producing structures that are out there. What else is there out there that you can invest in right away that can help you get to a return or a gain in this environment in COVID? Go, anybody. What else is out there? If you can't go to work, if you can't do all this other little stuff, unless you got a good hustle that you could do that works within the confinements of COVID environment, what else do you got? You got nothing. So by default, you kind of forced into a chokehold. Either sit on your hands and wait for the government to kind of policy themselves, policy your way up out of that, or you got to come over to what side of the house? Wall Street. Come make this stuff up. So this is what you're dealing with. So you understanding how the feds work, what their mandates are, how the Treasury Department is complicit in all this because they have a mandate to say, if we just protect at least their 401ks, that'll keep them from coming for our throats and our necks. Now, out of average corporation, how many people on that corporation probably have 401k? Yeah, we'll say at least we'll hypothetical. We'll say at least 86%. And the 20% people just got in, don't care, don't know about it, they ain't educated. We'll say 70%. Right? Outside of that, again, what are the other appreciated assets do you own to help you, through economic downturns like we're dealing with now with COVID? Y'all see how this stuff works? You got to be on point. You got to know how this works because in the future, what happens is when the inflation genie is out the bottle, as they say, this is historical data, not mine, that they continue keeping prices up because they know or have witnessed that you have figured out a way to keep paying for these things. They don't reduce prices just drastically overnight because they feel like, okay, yeah, we kind of back now to the point where we can help out the citizens. They keep those prices up. Mind you, during this time of COVID, you ain't getting no extra raise. You ain't getting none of that. Matter of fact, a lot of people have to retool, right? They have to re-engage a different industry or something to find work now. I was working in this field. My degree is in this. Oh, now I got to go get another job in this because that is not popping right now because of the COVID environment, because of stay at home and this. People out there having to retool skills that they've been holding for 10 to 15, 20, 30 years. Couldn't make this stuff up. So you have to have other ways to be able to bring in income. And you need to know exactly, again, what are again, as I like to say a lot, what are the rules of engagement to effectively go into a marketplace to be able to extract money from it? Where are the most fertile places at? Now that's where we get down to the minutia, right? When we talk about tapering, right? Real quick, right? We're almost done, guys. We'll be out of here in the next 20, 30 minutes. Thank y'all for being patient. All right, just want to make sure you guys with me. Y'all with me so far? Sister Fool, I see you in the building still. You with me, sister? You guys are with me here? Everybody
Yes,
with
sir.
me? Over Jeremy, over Brother Derek.
Yeah.
Y'all getting something out of this, Brother Tyrone?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep, I
Everybody
get
with
you.
me?
Yeah, for sure.
Brother Dondre, everybody with me? Y'all with me? Sister Monica, everybody over Chris, Brother Brandon,
I'm here.
Brother Isaiah, everybody with me on the
fall
wheel to the wheels fall. Everybody on the YouTube side, Brother Jay, Brother Zane, Brother Ramsey, Brother Sonny, everybody over there. Okay. All right, so let's rock out real quick here so we can get on through this here and get off. All right. So let's go here. Let's go here. All right, this is what they call preparatory planning, right? Preparatory planning, right? Let me get my P's right. Y'all know black people got these big lips, right? We can P's be staggering us sometimes. Preparatory planning, right? Now this obviously came out, a couple days ago. We know we just had the big, fireworks show that everybody was waiting on Thursday. Everybody was waiting on the what? The Jackson Hole Fed meeting, right? We had talked about Jackson Hole months before it came out, so we was not surprised. Only thing we knew was there was going to be either two adverse reactions to this news. Either markets are going to what? Sell off, or they're going to what? Rocket, right? You was not going to get what they call a iron condor moment, right? Or just neutrality off this news. they used this moment. We talked about it kind of previously before it came out, right? Up into it, like, okay, they finna try to pull what they call, 3-card Monte, on the what? On Wall Street and also on Main Street, right? The markets are addicted to cheap money. Again, we talked about that. The markets are now the spoiled entity of the economy, meaning, oh, they ain't got nothing else, so they got to rely on us. That's their mentality. Couldn't make this stuff up. There's nothing else out there. They ain't got no choice but to come to us, right? Feds are saying, hey, our loyalty lies in what? Corporate interests. They're all but saying it in people's face, in Main Street face. Every time someone asks Jerome Powell a question about Main Street, about why are you not, fixing real income inequality and really helping Main Street people kind of, fight COVID in a way where they're at least possible access to capital where they can build themselves back up during this moment. Who did he defer to? He defers back to who? That's Congress' job. That's what politicians are for. That's what your Republicans and Democrats are for. That's not my job. Wait, what? Your job is supposed to really bridge Main Street with what? Opportunity, access to capital and wealth. That's the mandate of the feds. If I'm not mistaken, y'all correct me on that. That's what their job is. But it gets lost in the minutia of what they can and can't do legally. Now, again, they already buying junk bonds, muni bonds, your municipal backed bonds, basically people with the fund. They buying all this stuff and incentivizing debt, which actually is, again, it's illegal under the Constitution. It removes the idea of what they call an Austrian, free market perspective, which we're supposed to be actually under, right? Just by normal standards. So they've become drunken with all this power. Keep in mind, the Federal Reserve, this guy right here on the screen right here, Jerome Powell, truth be told, right? He actually has more power than your sitting president right now. Anybody want to dispute that? Anybody want to challenge that? Anybody wants to smoke on that? Anybody?
Nope.
Anybody want to challenge that right now? I'd be happy to take on that challenge.
You said he got what?
He has more power than your sitting president right now.
That's a fact.
Anybody unsure about that? Anybody want to challenge that? Anybody know what I mean by that? Anybody on the YouTube side?
He does, but he can be fired though.
Hold up. Now I'm having you asked. You brought that in there too.
President could be impeached.
Definitely can, right? They already talking about the peace word now with Joe Biden, right? Who has the ability to fire this guy? You? Your vote?
Are you talking about Jerome Powell?
Yeah, who has the ability to fire Jerome Powell?
That come from Congress.
Right? Hey, I'm gonna do one of them Tasha K moments. Sip this wine a little bit. Had to let me hit this wine. No, that ain't, y'all know ain't no wine. It's my apple juice. Congress. Not the president, right? Not the vice president, not only Congress can fire him. Not even the Treasury that the Feds answer to, meaning Secretary of Treasury is who?
Janet Yellen.
Janet Yellen, right?
Federal Reserve too.
She can't even fire him, and she's over him to a degree, or over that Department of Federal Reserve. Only the Congress can alleviate what? A sitting Fed chair. Remember, y'all remember when Trump was trying to fire?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, you can't fire. And Trump was hot. He's like, God dang it, I thought I had some power. Right? I thought I had some power. Right? Unlimited power. Nah, bro, look, they're like, bro, Constitution says you can't do. Oh man, I thought it was this kind of part of it. Like, no, you can't do that, bro. He was trying. He was sure trying, right? Only person can fire this guy is Congress. Meaning it had to be a joint session. Couldn't make this stuff up. Could not make this stuff up. Essentially, he who controls the money control the what?
Control the
economy.
Yep.
He who controls the money control the economy. Are y'all with me there?
Yeah.
Anybody confused about that statement?
That's fact.
And people are looking at Main Street and Wall Street saying, okay, it's bad what Main Street is going through right now. It's bad. But there's that B word, but, and Apple stock is up like 60, 70% right now since COVID, bro. Woohoo! Tesla's up, 138, 100, 200% right now. But y'all see how that work?
Yeah, it puts you in a position where you like, well, damn, my assets are good, but me personally, if I'm a worker, I'm not good.
That part right there. Y'all with me? Are y'all seeing it from a place where this is why I'm always kind of hysterical about, like, we got to play catch up. This ain't just start. This been happening for years. Matter of fact, just use the bull market theory, or I didn't even call it theory. It's a thesis at this point. They bypass the theory. We're literally in a what? When what subprime lending crash happened? When? What year was that again?
2008.
What year is it right now?
2021.
How many years between 2021 to 2008?
13.
That means we're in a 13-year bull run. Let that marinate for a moment. Moment of silence for anybody who asks or come to y'all and say, why you investing? Why you want to be in something? Hey, that's gambling, this, that, and the third. Ain't no money in that. Moment of silence for that level of ignorance. It's involuntary. Some people it's voluntary, but moment of silence for that level of ignorance.
They get the same paycheck every month, every year. So this check is different. It just grow and grow every year.
It grows right along with the price of inflation, cost of living, all that stuff, and then some.
What you say over this paycheck change your zip code?
Look at here. What that Beverly Hills zip code is 90210. Y'all remember that show used to come up?
Yeah, change your zip code.
Y'all want to be out with Brother Polite? Shots fired. My bad. Let me rewind that. Hold on. Let me delete that off. Let me delete that. My bad, guys. My bad. I ain't mean to do that. My bad. Let me delete that. Rewind it. Right. You all right? Change your zip code. Your 401k is, I'm not going to really call it, well, I take it, it's static. It has growth perspective to it, but it's static in relation to that of what they call nominal growth could be, or no, not nominal, excuse me. Nominal growth is more related to that of a 401k. Exponential growth is more relegated to what? Asset purchases that have the ability to appreciate based upon what? Market fluctuation. Y'all with me there?
Yeah.
So when go ahead.
I just did a post today about, because Tesla and Apple did the stock split a year ago today, and I did a post on how much the return on investment, the percentage was from then till now, and you could have doubled your money on both stocks, damn near.
And that time alone. So as I opened up with earlier, I said, well, what? When we use the theory of understanding how markets work in terms of what? Sentiment, right? Psychology of markets, right?
Right.
When others are greedy, that's when you become what?
Fearful.
And when everybody's fearful, that's when you become what?
Greedy.
You become greedy. That's the rules of engagement, guys. I didn't make that up. The market runs by that theory. It operates under that mandate. So if they're going to convince y'all that you should be invested in markets and it's going to crash on your head one day and you're going to be, again, they already suffering because they're getting crashed on by the virus. They can barely go to work. They can barely put food on the table. But they convincing you that your best course of action is to what? Sit on your hands, right? Lean your chair back, right? Lean back, Fat Joe style. Lean back in your chair and just fold your hand, hold like you the tough triple OGOG and just sit there and ride this out. That's what they're trying to convince you to do. Now, y'all know as well as I know, ain't nowhere in the world you're going to make it survive when these people then pulled off the greatest wealth heist ever in American history. They've pulled off the greatest wealth heist ever in America. That's not hyperbole. That's not hyperbole. That is facts. The balance sheet of the Feds has just increased now by literally nearly 2 or 3-fold. Y'all know how much that is in terms of an overall economic perspective, on at least on a fiscal calendar perspective. They typically say a president racks up around about what, $2 to $3 trillion worth of debt during their presidency, right? And that's kind of being maybe modest. Trump alone, right, based on code, because it happens, it happens. If it happens your tenure or not, it's still on you. He alone racked up around about 5 to 6 trillion in one setting. Notice that's debt. That's debt. Right? When we look at the national debt clock, y'all know how this stuff works. So real quick, let's run over here really quick and we get ready. We got about 10, 15, 20 minutes. We wind this thing down. So again, they told y'all, or they tell y'all hear people tell you, man, that stuff, this, and this, that. They got, again, it's a whole lot of reason why you should be having pause, right, when it comes to think about investing, right? That's what they try to convince you. That's what they kind of convince you. I'm not making this up. Okay, let's play that game. Let's go to a monthly chart here. Let's go there. We said that, there's a bull run that's been happening since 2008, right? I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now, mine, I got all this scribble on my chart, forgive me, but y'all see it, right? Let me see. Hold up 1 second. I'm gonna leave that because I don't want to go through all that, putting it back. We said the crash, subprime lending crash happened 2008. Y'all see right here on my screen, 2008 right here. Right. Let me get a little ink, little pens right here. The air right here. See right here. Y'all see that there?
Yep.
Now, what was some of y'all doing in 2008? This is the part where I do that part. What was y'all doing in 2008? Anybody?
Working.
Over rich with grinding, working, brother. You say we're working, right? Anybody else? What was y'all doing in 2008? Anybody?
Working.
Right? Brother say we were working, over Chris work, grinding, right? Anybody else? What was y'all doing in 2008? Anybody? Right? Some of y'all were probably macaroni and cheese and out there. Some of y'all were Netflix and chilling, right? Right? What was y'all doing in 2008? Right? Anybody?
And the grind game was going good in 2008, man.
They grind, right? Right?
I was line dance.
They say you're doing something, Monica. You what?
Line dance.
Line dance. She's out there doing the line dance. She was doing that Northern Viking style with it too, kicking that leg up. Y'all didn't be doing it. No, just kidding. Right? Now she's probably doing that good style, right? Y'all to the left, right? 2008. Right? On YouTube side of the house. What was y'all doing in 2008? Right? Now, y'all know the one thing that we're not all saying as melanated people on this live tonight?
Investing.
Studying, learning the markets.
I wasn't. I know I wasn't. I had a couple of bonds and that's it. Outside of what the 401 had, that's it. Wasn't even thinking about it.
Do y'all see the pathology in that?
Didn't Obama give out stimulus checks that year too? Or was that 08, 09, something like that? Or there was stimulus checks going out that year?
Yeah, that was Bush though that gave them out. But I didn't get
child
one
tax
that
credit.
year.
Yeah, child tax credits, and then they had the little insurance, IRS little stimulus, whatever. But we talking about, these are just one-off events, right? These are one-offs, right? I mean, they happen and that's it, right? Or you have to meet a certain criteria for that benefit, right? But this is at the height of market value saying, oh, this is a what? A time to press the what? The greed gas pedal. Again, I just said when others are fearful, that's when you become what? When others are fearful, that's when you become what?
Greedy.
And when others are greedy, that's when you become what?
Fearful.
I got to keep repeating that for a reason because it's going to have to sink into your psyche as an investor. Look on my chart right here. This was doing when the markets got what became what? See right here? That little tranche right there? That right there? That was leading into 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody at that point was what? Were they fearful or were they greedy?
Fearful.
They were fearful, right? Hence the market was selling off, right? Well, what did the smart people do?
Oh,
They got greedy.
They got what?
Greedy.
With a capital G. Warren Buffett, Tudor Jones, Livermore,
Michael Burry too.
Burry,
Yeah.
Chanos, all the Dalio, you name them. Leon Cooperman, you name them. They start doing the Birdman rub. That famous Birdman rub, right? Looking at shaking their head side to side. Because they know from experience, this is a what? A greedy moment. This is where you load the boat. You ride the wave down, shorten it until it hits a point of what? Exhaustion of what? Sellers. We talked about earlier, it was exhaustion of buyers when you're at the top. When it's at the bottom, it's an exhaustion of what? Sellers, right? When the sellers dry up, in come the what? The buyers, right? They start buying the brakes off that what? That $50 what? Pivot. Dollar cost averaging in. Keep in mind, SP 500 at that point you're seeing here in terms of all the split ratio, $50 a share for the SP 500 back in 2008. How many of y'all had at least $50 to blow in the market during 2008? At least once.
I know I did.
At least once, meaning one share of the SP 500 in 2008. How many of y'all had that?
Wish I did.
I did.
Right? Y'all with me here? So we're talking about growth with a G, growth, right? Appreciating assets over time. When there's calamity, catastrophe in marketplaces, the first place that everybody looks to as a flight to safety is what? Their marketplace. The asset purchasing, marketplace. They don't run out and try to find this diamond in the rough job somewhere, because that's all probably going, heck in the handbasket at this moment. Or, things are strained to the point where they got to let workers go. What again, we talked about it before. When Katrina hit, all the people lost their jobs, their houses, their lives. Life had really just, again, think about that, right? That happened during what, 2000, what year? Was that 2006, 5, somewhere around there, Katrina?
It's 2005, I believe.
Think about that. The entire world came to a halt, right? Okay, unfortunately, right?
Mm-hmm.
During that time, what was still making money? What was still producing?
Stock market.
Hurricane Ida right now just laying siege to the area right now. Ancestors be what the people going through, what they're going through right now. And that, right? What's about to open in the next 6 minutes?
Futures market.
Which is another form of the what? Stock market, right?
Yes, sir.
So the stock market was shut down because of the hurricane?
Absolutely not.
It's stock market. It's a stock market shutting down on a global pandemic with a P, a big P, a pandemic. Had the global stock market shut down for that.
That's when you make the real money.
Has the stock market shut down based upon unemployment?
No way.
Nope.
Don't match your greatest fear tactic right now and ask yourself, has the stock market shut down for business one day?
It was still going during 9/11.
9/11, man.
That's even I often go on my conspiracy, put my 10-4 kufi on, but I ain't gonna do it. When they wiped out with the Tower 2 had a lot of American bonds. I think they had the bonds. They said they had bonds. They had some old slave records that were in that building. They had some other insurance papers. And literally, they say a day or two or a week before it collapsed, the owner of the tower put out a big insurance policy on that building. That's historical record. I ain't making that up. He took out a big insurance policy literally days before the building came down. Couldn't make this stuff up. And they had some of the most sensitive records of within America's infrastructure loaded in that building.
I need you to come through something.
Right? So again, this is how the world works, guys. I'm not making stuff up, but you got to understand. Going forward, we already late to the party. Meaning, when I say we late, meaning we didn't have the infrastructure in place to educate us thoroughly and consistently. Not that we didn't hear about it, but consistently beat that into our heads. Hey, y'all need to focus on growth, real growth. I may have missed it because I was too busy trying to put food on the table and working hard. And your daddy was doing this, and your mama did. But here's how you're going to benefit going forward, because we're going to give you all the tools that we weren't able to get ourselves, so you can be well equipped to fight economically going into the future. This was just 2008 alone. $50 a share S&P 500 on that subprime lending crash, coming off of 121. So it basically got cut in half, right? To the tune where it lost basically almost 125%. Well, no, so give me 75%, 75% of the market, right? So let's say, so 150, so 121, so about 75% value. That's a lot. That's a lot. After that, they cut on the machines. Ben Bernanke, one of the most infamous Fed chairs, or Secretary of Treasuries, or Fed chairs, or Secretary of Treasury, Fed chair, excuse me, ever to hold that position. They say Alan Greenspan, but no, well, that's debatable. But Ben Bernanke, though, liquid money, Mr. Computer Taylor himself, that joker printed so much money. I gotta do it in one of them Diva. That joker printed so much money. It was crazy. This market been on a 13-year bull run. People say, well, we got the crash during COVID, brother African Forum. What are you talking about? Okay, let's go there real quick, and we're gonna get ready to wind this thing down here. Let's go there. Let's go there then. Let's go to this daily chart here, right? Let me show you exactly how markets make people who are outside believers, or people who are just so caught up in drinking what they call the economic conspiracy Kool-Aid, right? We talking about economics here. They're drinking the economic school Kool-Aid. What's going on over Marquise, Ilba, Camille? See y'all done popped in the building. Peace, found property, you beautiful, beautiful black people today, right? Look at here. COVID, 329. Reality, 218.
What did it take about 4 months to get back all the gains it lost?
I'm finna go there. That happened in a matter of what? That wasn't even a whole month. That drop started around about February 21st. It ended around about a month, March 23rd. So we'll say a month, right? A couple days. You went from 329 all the way down to 218. Okay. August. So you got what? April, May, June, July, August, 5 months, 4 to 5 months. They gained all that back. Meaning if you just bought 218, 220, you got an increase of around about what? What's 329 divided by 220?
$120.
Well, that's just per share, right? Yeah. So if we do that just per share, that's $121 per share. Percentage wise, y'all can do the math on that. We already know that's well over, like 50, some odd 70%, somewhere around there, give or take. That's an increase in 5 months now. What other asset class in our economy gives you the ability to have that kind of level of percentage gain, increase appreciated value in that short period of time? Go, anybody.
Insider trading.
My man. That's about it, right? That's the whole thing you can do. It had to be something illegal. Right? Oh, the dice game down at the local, what, at bodega behind the back, right? At the dice game.
With Pookie.
With Pookie there. Ashley Larry, right? Or Dave Chappelle, right? Click clack, right? What else you got? Think about that. What else do you have? See, this is why to us, this is no brainer, right? Meaning those who drunk the Kool-Aid on this side, man, I got the little sign in my office over there. Over here by this little door here that says drink the Kool-Aid. I see it every day. Going out my garage or, or coming in, it's right there. Drink the Kool-Aid, right? I have to convince myself, literally I have to brainwash myself to realize that I'm playing catch up. Why? Because I didn't get this in grade school at the level where it was hammered into my head. Because had I got it in grade school, any allowance, anything like that, I'd have been, mama, put that in the stock market. What you want for your birthday? Put in the stock market. Daddy, what you want for your birthday? Put in the stock market. Because over time, appreciation in terms of assets, in terms of this stock market, NYC, NASDAQ, the two biggest exchanges on the planet, accounts for well over 2/3 of the global wealth transfer structures on the planet. Let me repeat, the NYSE and the NASDAQ accounts for at least 2/3 of all the global exchanges wealth value on the planet. The Hong Kong exchange, the TSX, Canada, Israeli market, European market, the NASDAQ and the NYSE. That means, in layman terms, we account for most of the world's wealth and asset purchases, exchange, sales, vaults, whatever, on the entire planet. Basically, we control the free markets. So this is the most lucrative grounds to be in, is my point. Y'all with me there? These are the most lucrative grounds to be in, to plant seeds in, basically, is my point. Where you literally can set it, what they call set it and forget it, right? What was that guy, the rotisserie reel, Ronco, whatever his name, you can set it and forget it. 2008, it basically went from $50 until where we at today. Where we at today? $450. What's 450 divided by $4? By $50. 450 divided by 50. Anybody? What's that?
9.
That means the market's up 900% in 13 years.
Wow.
Make that make sense to me, guys. Some of y'all working back in 2008 on a job somewhere?
Yeah, Mr. Charlie.
How many y'all had 401ks in 2008? Now I ain't trying to be all your personal business, but y'all know this is finance over here, so we're gonna talk that talk over here. Who had 401ks back in 2008?
I'm gonna speak my speech.
Speak it, bro. That. Speak it over. Who else? Who else had 401ks then? Let me ask you this: is it up 900%?
Not at all.
No way.
But they supposed to match you though.
In my dreams.
You like, man, if you put all that money there, man, I gotta turn up on the weekend. Look, I gotta put this minimum in.
Yeah.
What other assets you have out there up 900% since 2008? Your relationship? Everybody? No, everybody, right? Everybody, bro.
Leave
What
that
else you
alone.
got? What? Not making this up. Where y'all on the YouTube side? Where y'all at over there? Where they in the right? Y'all see where I'm going with this? So that's 900% increase in 13 years. So you put in 50, today is worth 450. So you basically gain 400% appreciating asset value on a $50 what? Value. That means on a per basis, let's see, 900% divided by what? By 13. What's that? What's 900% divided by 13? That's around about what? 7, 8%? Somewhere around there, 7, 8. Somewhere, y'all with me there? Anybody unsure about that?
Good.
That means if you had a money market account, that blew holes in your money market account. So at the rate where the market has been artificially, I'm gonna say that, I gotta say that, at the rate that the market has been artificially inflated, I'll use that terminology, right? Over the past year and 3 months, 4 months, we went from 218 to now sitting at 450, right? We're due for what they consider to be a what? A major what? Correction. Y'all probably been hearing that, right? They're saying that the correction should be every bit around about what? 20%, right? 10% will to them make Wall Street happy. Of course, they don't want to lose no more than they are. They're just gonna buy a dip anyway. Standard economists, university levels or whatever, they're saying, okay, we do at least we need at least about a 25%. Major short sellers saying, oh, the market needs to correct at least 50. Right? Of course, they're gonna say that. So let's just use that litmus. Anything from 50% up to 10% is what we consider to be viable aspect of correction. Now, that's debatable, but we'll just use that in this closing here. Right now, we're sitting at 450. If we get any kind of pullback of that level of correction, number one, the question would be what would cause it? And then number two, to what degree or what extent or how far will it drop? And you guys, as mom, ask you guys individually, or to those that want to participate, I should say, or that can, what would cause the market to pull back 10 to 20%? Anybody?
Another strain of virus.
Real estate.
What do you mean by real estate? What exactly about the real estate?
Could be a correction in the real estate prices, and
a cut in real estate prices potentially, belly up because again, that supply and demand ratio began to kind of get off kilter because right now, obviously, the real estate market is kind of somewhat in an odd place. Why? Because everybody that want to buy, they've already kind of somewhat bought, and now they're waiting to see if the market's going correct, right? Meaning interest rates, right?
Yeah.
Based on taper, right? The sweet spot was back doing work. Beginning of the year up until at least March, right? At the end of the last year, that the sweet spot, and before that, it was the summer of I say spring or summer of 2020 was definitely a sweet spot. Why? Because at that point, lenders during the refi cycle, they were actually giving away money for you to refi. Y'all remember? Couldn't make this stuff up. They were paying people to refi. Just refi, please refi with us. We'll pay you. We'll pay you money. We'll give you extra. Now it's like, okay, yeah, pump the brakes on that. Market getting ready to make a move here, whatever. So we got real estate. We got somebody else say anything? Anybody else? What would cause it? The market to pull back?
You'll say another strain of virus.
Another strain of virus, right? I mean, another mutation, or well, where's Unc at right now? I need to get Unc on here. Because he
with Inky.
They go to war. They go to another war,
right? Possible war, right? Well, war would only exacerbate what? The financial strain that we already got. But guess what? We just spoke about that too, over. They already were paying $300 billion a day just to be an Afghan. That's just Afghan alone. That's not even counting the other stuff. $300 million a day of taxpayers' money to fund a broken war. They're letting you know outright that they just mismanage money. They don't care less about what you think about. They don't care. These people are, let me keep it PG. These people can care less about your aspirations or how you look at this nation and saying that America is this, America is that, and it's great, this, that. Then people ain't, look, only people that say that stuff are people who are drunk the Kool-Aid on a different perspective. This is not no land of milk and honey. It ain't the land of none. This is the land of snatch and grab. I repeat, this is the land of snatch and grab. And potentially hold if you can hold on to it. Because even in death, they're coming forward. If you don't know how to rightfully so transfer it to your heirs. So they understand it. So we're thinking about what would cause the market to correct itself, because we're up against that crucible moment, quote unquote, at this point. Delta variant, y'all said wars, y'all said real estate. I'm waiting. Anybody else? What caused the market to correct?
Raising the interest rates.
Raising interest rates. Why would raising interest rates cause the market to correct itself?
Shortage.
Say again?
Shortage.
Well, when you say shortage, what do you mean shortage?
When stocks go down.
Well, we're trying to figure out what would be the litmus test or the tipping point. No, let me repeat that.
It's because it's gonna, it's because it's gonna contract the monetary supply.
So when you say contract the monetary supply, what do you mean by that to that aspect? If you could be a little bit more descriptive.
That is gonna pull liquidity out of the markets.
Pull liquidity out of the market. So if liquidity is a major factor of keeping the markets up right now, if you remove that heroin or that cocaine injection, what does that do to the sentiment of people who's been buying or who have bought way down here at 2000, at the low there, 2000, 20 low? What is that going to do to the sentiment of the people that's been riding this wave all the way up at this point? It's going to cause them to buy or sell.
Everybody running to the exit at the same time.
So exhaustion of sellers. Now you at a point of just exhaustion of buyers. Now at this point ain't really that many sellers out there. Ain't nothing else to do to what? But to sell, take a little profit. So if you remove the liquidity, like Marquis was saying there, now that causes a massive aspect of what they call a vortex. I'm gonna use that word. A vortex of volatility, like a black hole. Everything up here, right? I'm gonna even put some animation on the screen here in closing here. We get ready to get out of here. This right here, right? Vortex, right? Vortex, right? All the way down potentially. I'm just gonna show you the potentiality of this pullback. If they say 10, 20%, 10, 25% pullback is noted, or 50%. Now, if they say a 50%, then okay. What's 50% of or I should say a 50% degradation of 450, right? 100% of 4, or let's say when you have 450, what's half of 450?
225.
Is it about 220, 225?
225.
Yeah, 225.
So that would be like 100%, right? 100% move, right? So 120, or so 2020. So you're talking about in this case, let's say 50%, 50% of that 450 perspective. Let's see, 400, 225. Let's say 3. So about 225, right? So we got 100. Let me see, 450 or 125, and then around about 3. Oh, let me pull this down here. Sorry. Let me pull this over here. So we're talking roughly around about what? 370, 380-ish? No, 350. Somewhere around there. What's 225 minus 450? I'm sorry. I'm trying to do the long way fast. So we're saying 350 to 225 area. Is that what we said 225?
Yeah, 225.
Yeah, that's half of 450.
Right.
That's
So
a 50% drop.
right. So that's roughly
And
right
man,
about.
is y'all saying this is a possibility it's gonna drop that far?
Hold up. That's what we're saying. There's nothing possible about information besides what it actually happening, right? When we say projected value, projection values, so to speak, right? That in lies the idea if the worst case scenario was in place, this would happen, right? Even if it did that, all of it do would take you back to what? To about dang near
Pandemic law.
back near to that the pandemic low.
I can't see that happen.
Worst case scenario, right? Now, this drop right here because of COVID, you know they did not expect that to happen at the level they did because they felt like the Feds had already been buying the market in reverse repo operations, right? But yet it still dropped all the way from 329 all the way down to 218. And it was actually going to go lower. And then something magical happened. Something magical happened to stop the market from going lower. What happened?
Stimulus package.
To a degree, right? Basically, you can call it stimulus package for the market at Wall Street, that is. In came the biggest daily injection to the market that I ever seen. I noted it, I saw it, I called it out, I was sharing it with everybody. They pumped $1 trillion, not reverse operation money, not mortgage-backed security money. They just took basically $1 trillion out of the treasury and pumped it straight into the equity market. $1 trillion from 218. It gapped all the way up. Y'all see here? Let me blow it up. See right there? We hit 218. They pumped in the $1 trillion. So based off 218, the market went all the way back up to 241. That's what $1 trillion look like going into the market in one day. Couldn't make this stuff up, right? 240. I mean, it just, that was the start of, oh, get the market off the lows, right? Cut on the machines, Mortimer, right, as they say. And after that, blue sky breakouts from that point on. Worst case scenario, you saying 225 near that? 50% of that, excuse me, 25% of that puts you around about what? Around about what? 325, somewhere around there? 318, 310? Y'all agree with that? 25% pullback? Right? That vortex we just talked about here, right? Somewhere around this point right here, right? Okay. That puts us every bit around about what? Right around the area right here. See right there, that globe I got circled right here on my screen right here? This little area here? It puts us back around that area right there. Because that was another, as you want to call, a major level of convergence before the next potential breakout. That's a good reset. Some would say, man, that's wicked though, brother. I'm way up here at the top, bro. Well, guess what? That means the market just became that much more what? Cheaper. When others are fearful, that's when you get what? You get greedy. Right? It's hard to fathom it that way, but that's how markets have always operated, with or without manipulation. It's going to find a way to regroup itself and chug along and go higher. Well, how do we know that? Well, because historical data have already proved that. Historical data has already exonerated, right, the markets in that perspective. Why? Because look at this here, right? Let me remove all my scribble off the chart here, or that I have. Let me move this here. Y'all see that right there? The market is like, yeah, you go out there and keep doing the milk crate challenge. What's all your little challenges and fads and worry about this little latest trend of that and that. You keep worrying about that. You stay distracted worrying about that. Because over here, we're gonna keep doing these kind of numbers. Look at that there. It's gonna keep doing those kind of numbers. Now convince me after you seeing this chart, how are you going to convince yourself that it's best that you not be into this to the degree where you can use this as a wealth catalyst for your future growth? Anybody go? Convince me, please. It's going to outperform most of all other markets out there. It's going to outperform them on what they call a linear pattern, right? Linear or logarithmic, if you want to use that perspective, overarching curve value of it. It's going to outperform. So while you got other stuff going on, you running a business, you got other endeavors you're doing, VC, venture capital investing, whatever you're doing. Oh, but you also got to have operating, income working to influence the market. And when you feel like you kind of you came late to the party, and it's just too high, too expensive, the chances are this correction coming at some point. We don't know to the extent of we're gonna say what day is gonna happen, but we do have pretty much a clear picture of knowing that it's gonna happen. To what degree? Meaning to the level, 10%, 5%. Some people just be happy with 5%. That's how greedy they are. Wall Street that greedy. They's like 5% be good for us. 5%? What? Y'all went up 5% in the last 2-3 weeks. They ain't there. There ain't no correction. But when you making money like this, you don't care about where the money coming from, whether it's morally tied to something or not. You're not thinking about that. So Wall Street again is spoiled. So everything that we now know about what's going to happen, we're not confused going forward. This right here, right? It's already been in the making. They're trying to soft land this market. Notice that the word soft land it, meaning bring it down slowly. As opposed to just poof, one big crash or one big correction. Not gonna be able to happen. They've already ruined the commodity market to a degree. They've already made inflation levels not transitory. It's almost to the degree where it can become stagflation. That's what they're really scared of. If it becomes a stagflation economy, oh, we all gonna be jacked up. Meaning, if we don't have really good ways to make money, of course, we are here. Thank goodness we learn the market. Oh, it could be real ugly out there. And even at that point, the stock market will have probably less gains because it'll kind of hit a point where it's just, it's caught in the, but you still be able to have something you can make money on. It won't be like it is now. The punch bowl just passing around, everybody getting rich. You will still have access to opportunity. But again, stagflation would be like, man, we just hope that ain't gonna happen. But anyway, they're gonna try to soft land this market. It's not gonna happen. So expect that it's gonna happen. That $120 billion securities, when that kind of gets thinned out, the markets have to stand on its own. It's used to been getting these cocaine injections. That's gonna really test the nature of what market makers, fund managers, banks, retail traders, foreign investors, anybody that want to be a part of our marketplace. It's gonna really test their their nature, if they really about that life. So a lot of people like, hey, I missed it. No, it's never too late. When things give you that kind of level of a macro window of opportunity, plan for it. That's all we're saying. Plan for it. That's why this time technicals, right? After today's discussion, tapering, technicals, timeline, growth versus value, and I got options on the back end. Well, what do I mean by that? We went through the tapering aspect to make it make sense. Interest rates, this, that, the third. The technicals will obviously rely on terms of where potentially we can pull this market back before we get, deep into the growth versus value timeline, when that potentially can happen. Well, the Fed they came out and said it. I'm not making these words up. The Fed said that they're expecting to do it sooner than later, by the end of this year. There's one potential economic data point that can come out within the next week or two that can start that conversation to unravel the markets a lot faster. What is that economic readout that the Feds are scared of that can take away some of their power? Anybody? Anybody want to tackle that? What is one economic readout or data plot that the Fed's supposed to answer to?
The CPI.
Well, that close, right? Close. It falls within the CPI scenario, but what's the number one thing that the Fed's been crying about all this time? Why they continue to keep the asset purchase? They're banking their mandates on what?
Jobs reports.
So they say what? Full what? Employment. Well, what is even full employment? Everybody back to work? A portion of the people back to work? Certain jobs read out. See, that's the ambiguity in their statement. That's what keeps these people this. You see the look on his face, right? If I was, in my Dr. Khalid Muhammad mode, you already know what I'll be saying right now. You see the on his face, right? This is the excuse for people who don't understand how this works, or smart people like you and I that knows exactly what they're not saying, but what they are saying. They don't want to relinquish this aspect of power. Why? Because all eyes are on them every single day. They have not only enriched Wall Street, but a lot of their what? Constituents, their family members, right? They can't participate in the stock market based upon the laws of the SEC, but they got family members down the line, friends. You don't think they had them conversations? Yeah, we still got our mandates going. Oh, I need to still stay in the market there. Yeah, you basically need to stay invested in the market, buddy. Because we ain't stopping. We're going to keep pumping. Numbers don't lie, right? Numbers don't lie, all right? Numbers don't lie. Okay, so we ready for it, right? Okay, where we at here? Where we at? Where we at? Where is that? Where is that? Right here, right here. Let me go and refresh it. So it should be refreshed here. See right there? That's going into Monday right there. That's Monday, right? This is Monday. What's that? How much is that right there? Anybody see that down there? How much is that?
That's 1.1 trillion.
Say that with your chest open.
That's 1.1 trillion.
1.1 trillion what? Dollars, right? Not hypothetical money, not, maybe money. That's $1.1 trillion that's been signed, sealed, delivered, auctioned, and accepted by all counterparties to be what? Reversed repo operation money that's at fixed rate value to go into what? Into the what market? Into the stock market. Not Main Street, not whatever. That market money is going into the market. Now, you know what's also wicked about that? Over the past 6 days, it's been hitting the $1 trillion level every day. It's right there, 1.12, 1.09 trillion, 1.14 trillion, 1.12 trillion. Not making this up, 1.13 trillion, 1.1 trillion, 1.1 trillion. Y'all see that there? 1.1 trillion. A trillion, right? A trillion, right? A trillion, right? Y'all see this here?
Yeah, that's more than 6 days.
Yeah, I thought I was the only one tripping, man. Like, that's crazy.
They ain't got no money for nothing else. Schools, roads, books, infrastructure, better hospital, better this, better that, reparation, right? They ain't got money for nothing. But they got $1 trillion to give the stock market every day. And joking like, go ahead. Somebody about to say something?
Now, I was gonna ask you. So initially, the first stimulus, what was it, like 2 trillion? The first one the
big one, the helicopter money.
Yeah.
Oh, like the CARES Act. The CARES Act.
Yeah, way back, like the first one.
Right. The CARES Act was worth like it was like 2 something trillion. Let me see. It was like 2 something trillion CARES Act. Let me see. It was 2.2 trillion.
2.2, yeah.
But
So
that was
that's
just,
crazy.
and that's not all of it, because that was just the front part of it. It was a back end to it too. So it was actually a bit more, but we'll just say for the record 2.2 trillion. Go ahead, over.
Yeah, I was just saying that's crazy that we made such a big deal about that, yet we've been doing this every day. Like, we've been printing, you know what I'm saying? We've been printing that much every day into
Keep
the
in mind,
stock market.
that's the Congress joint relief package that they put for on the Congress side, their budget.
Mm-hmm.
Reverse repo operation has nothing to do with Congress. This is strictly Treasury Department allocating that right to the Federal Reserve to recycle that money back into the stock market every single day. Print what you need, inject it to the market. As long as you account for it, lend it to the banks. Banks make the injection to the markets. They have to be accountable for it. They take what they call a slip or a coupon slip that they took hold of all this cash, this digital cash, that they now have to what? Use it only for the purpose of what? Pumping it into the stock market. And they've been doing this every day for the past 6-7 days at Trim. Now, before that, it was still in the 900 billions. Now, ain't like that's no short change. That ain't no little piece of change, right? All that money just been going on the balance sheets of these institutes that they're using to pump money to the markets with. Every day. That's void. That's not even had to do with the CARES Act, the other acts, and all that stuff. Let that marinate. So when you look at the technicals tell you what? Matter of fact, let me get on this. Let me go to like an hourly chart. That way it don't look so. I got all my scribble up there. Forgive me. Let's go. Let's do this real quick. Let me just scrunch this down a little bit. The last 6 days alone, which y'all saw that, right? I think you made a reference to that over Jeremy, right? The last 6 days, right? Let's go there. That'll be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right around this here, because the auction started the previous day and it goes into the next. So basically right around the what? 200-day moving average here on the hourly chart. $1 trillion been coming into the market every single day. Why did they up it to $1 trillion a day as opposed to the 800 billion or 900 billion was? But why? Because the market was starting to what? Fall. They increased the auctions ahead of the what? Jackson Hole meeting to pad any investors' fear of the tapering talk to keep people invested in the markets and not want to dump. See how this work? Are y'all with me here? Y'all see how this work?
Nice.
That's psychological money that's being put to work. It's tangible, but it's still psychological money to keep Wall Street what? Happy from not throwing a what? A temper tantrum. All you gotta do is pay attention to this and say, oh, they ain't gonna let this thing fall. We still gotta wait till we actually hear out of the what? The horse's mouth in terms of Jerome Powell, if they're gonna taper or not. Okay, buy the deal. And it was at a 200 moving average on the hourly chart, which is a massive what? Indication of what? Barbecue mildew. Bought the deal. 440 all the way to what? 450, 10 points. Meaning timeline, even in that short period of time, you could have bought for the entire what? The entirety of the rest of those what? The rest of the month contracts out for September's expiration at that point there, and been what? Actually at the money or in the money, where would you be right now? You'd be up a minimum. Meaning you still had time on it, right? A minimum about 800-900%. Minimum. That's 6 days, guys. Remind you, that's 6 days. Remind you, that's 6 days. 800-900%. Even that pullback there, they might have had a liquidity flush, you gained it right back the next day. So that brought that premium right back up. 800-900% minimum in 6 days. Just by reading the tea leaves, understanding the nature of the business, learning how to trade options. If you trade in the option market or just buying equity outright, how to play into that kind of what? That aspect of greed. Y'all with me there? This is how you use the market to your advantage. Long as Wall Street is happy, that's all the government cares about. This stuff is crazy. but this is what they do, right? This is what they do, right? This is what they do. So we need not be confused going forward. So in closing here, we just talked about the one thing that could bring the market to that kind of level of a hasty move where the Fed now have to move it towards that tapering to get it done is what? Improving what? Employment. All things hinge on, let me find it real quick here. All things hinge on, let me find it here, right? Let's see. Let's see here. Well, that's just the Feds disagreeing here, whatever. Let's see if they got it on this one. Might be on the other article. Let's see, real quick here. In closing. And this is a good article too. I'm gonna share this with everybody that wants it. Matter of fact, let me do it now. Let me get this to everybody. I'm put it on the YouTube side and also in the back chat on the outside. Right. Y'all might want to peep that, right? Y'all might want to look into that. All right. I'm gonna put that over here too. Some of you guys already seen it, whatever, but just want to make sure I keep referencing it. Where we at? Oh man, what I did with the article. Where we at? Here. Okay. Let me find it. Let me see. Nope. Where we at? Blah blah blah. Okay. Feds. I had the article up somewhere. I already had it queued up. I know I got it mixed up now somewhere. Where is it at? Okay, this portion of it here. So right here, it says 3 Fed officials, right? We already know that there's been it's been some infighting inside the Federal Reserve, right? It's like some of the major government, like I think Dallas, Kansas City, not Minnesota is Khashoggi, whatever his name is. He a flip flopper. But I think the Richmond Fed, Richmond guy, Barkin. They're saying as early as what? In October, right? Now that's just basically a month away because it's already September, right? That's just a month away. They're saying they need to happen as early as October. The one economic piece of data that they're waiting to get to force their hand, quote unquote, to a degree, is where we at? Where is that? I know I have. Dang it. That ain't it. I'm going to say it if I don't have it. I got it up here. I just have to read through all this stuff again. All right. Basically, it's the August job numbers, right? The August job numbers, right, come out. Matter of fact, let me see, do it this way. Oh, excuse me. Right? Let's see. Right here. Right? August, let's say for next, it comes out on, because next week. See right here, unemployment situation. That's next week on the 3rd, right? That's on next Friday. That particular readout right there is going to be, whew, that one right there could be the tipping point right there. I mean, if the numbers come in good, because that's the overall employment situation for the month of August, meaning that exponential growth in terms of when they tally it up for the month, if those numbers come in better than they was for July, that forces the Feds to have to go ahead and what? In their mind, potentially move what? A little fast, because everything that they're hinging on at this point is going to be based upon the what? Employment data. That's the excuse.
Yeah, you got to remember last year at this exact time we had that sell-off.
And I'll even go there too. The month of September is not one of the most favorable months for what? for a lot of bullish sentiment, right? September ain't one of the better months. They squeaked through August, right? And August ain't necessarily one, but guess what? How are you going to fight? How are you going to fight this right here? How you going to fight this right here?
All new time highs on SPY. If this if this new highs on SPY, everything else don't matter. New highs.
Well, things that are strong tend to get stronger. You right in that sense in terms of sentiment. Even more so, over. How you gonna fight that right there? Right? We at $1 trillion a day now. A day. In my Dante Wilder today. $1 trillion a day.
Ain't big that.
So let's just put this in context and we get ready to close out. That means the markets has now we don't know what's gonna do tonight. Well, I haven't even checked yet. Future markets are open right now at 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check. We're gonna say that to the end because you know how we do it over, Chris, right? Take that. I know y'all already gonna look at it, but it's all right. But here's the deal. Even though we got some Middle Eastern bombing, we had 3 bombings so far over the weekend. 3 bombings. We already know about the 14 soldiers died because of that. The market, them soldiers died Thursday night, Thursday is Friday, and the market still went up. Y'all know historically, anytime you have that kind of level of conflict, especially American bodies die, soldiers die, the market typically crashes on those days. True story. The market typically crashes on those days. Now,
why didn't it last week?
My point. That's the whole point of this whole conversation over, Jeremy. Walk with your brother. That's the whole point. Because American soldiers' death don't matter when you got that kind of money right there going to the markets every day. You with me now? You see what's going on here? They're artificially propping it every day. Not the market can't come down on the days when they pump money to it, but it ain't gonna come down at the level that we know the market's supposed to correct. Does that make sense? The only thing that's gonna cause the market to correct is like over Marquis mentioned what we've been saying this whole time. If they pull back the cocaine injection, the tapering.
Yeah, tapering. Yep, they've been throwing that word out there a lot. So,
and it's all hinging on employment data points. When we reach maximum employment,
how's that gonna work?
Listen what they say.
Scared to go back to work.
This is their conversation. Maximum employment. What is maximum employment? Right? What is the scale of what maximum employment is? That's the gray area that they keep using to pump money into the markets. But here's how that
pre-pandemic levels. So
right. But here's how that works. Over Marquis, I'm just going with Jeremy when you ask that question. Here's how that works. It doesn't matter what data looks like tomorrow. It only worry about what happened yesterday. You see how that works? This data is backdated. They can't plan for what will happen in the future, even though they'll tell you we're trying to make sure we keep that aspect of the economy in focus. But if they're going to be honest, which they're not, and they're going to say they're going to play a game of transparency, which they rarely do, they still got to be they have to reconcile to the data of the data, right? That means that month have to tally first before they say, okay, this is what we got to go off for because here's a tangible readout of what the economy is at. Make sense? In this case, it's employment. That's what they're using. So if the August numbers are better than that, what July is, then that means, okay, you already got inflation through the roof. You're killing everybody slowly at the grocery store, the gas pump, everywhere else, housing. Look, you need to taper. Stop playing. You should have stopped months ago. No, keep mashing the gas. And so the injury to those who are not in the market, who kept thinking the market going to crash, you're going to pull back, they've been increasing their reverse repo operations every single day. As a way to say, yeah, that part. Insert your expletive narrative word, those who ain't in the market. And the markets have done nothing but we which boss, right? We which boss? Look at that. Not making that up. Look at that. See, this was the talk about, okay, we finally gonna talk about Talk about inflation. That caused the pullback. After that, that was another excuse to what? To buy the dip. They got the thing all down to 422, and that many days, it's all the way up to 450. A 20 plus point move or 200 plus in the SPX, and that many days. How many days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I did that for a reason. Meaning that's an entire what? That's an entire what? Y'all see my screen right here? So as soon as that dip happened right there, y'all should have been buying what?
Leap call.
So if you'd have had bought the August, end of August leap call into September, at the money, in the money, or close anywhere back to where the market fell from, even at that point, if you even want to go to that point, 437. Right now, you're up. Let's say hypothetical minimal. Hypothetically minimal, you're up roughly 14, 15, 1600% on a monthly leap. Contract may cost you every bit about, hypothetically, we can probably go back and backtrack it. $600-700 if that. 600-700 at that. If that. Now it's worth 1600% plus. The fear of the market pulling back on taper was already discussed based upon what caused the pullback, on the fact that, okay, now we're going to discuss the idea of potentially thinking about tapering. But we have no timeline when we're going to actually do it. But we're going to discuss this more going into our what? Which they said, our Jackson Hole what? Fed meeting. Well, all the governors come together and they start thinking about, okay, where we at? Let's assess the economy. We kind of at that midway point. That's what they do. That's what Jackson Hole is. Jackson Hole comes, they call it the midway point of the fiscal calendar year, where they come together and discuss the state of the economy. Abnormal because of COVID, but already on the books, mandatory, mandated. But we know these are different circumstances because of COVID. Employment issues, they're using that as a key to keep pumping markets. Hey, let's hear it. He talked a good game Friday and stopped the fears of the market. The market's getting ready to pull back. Y'all see it right there. It was getting ready to pull back. He came out there and sweet talked the market like, boy, look at him. And the market said, okay, reverse, ramp. Let's go get that 450. They tried here, failed. Several times to get that 450 at 448, 449. They finally got it on Friday. So now that you got a new all-time high, things that are strong tend to get what? Stronger, unless something else changes that narrative. So that means from now into next Friday, unless something crazy with Afghanistan happen, you probably can almost give it about an 80% to 90% centile value that it's going to try to turn either sideways or slightly up until the what? That number readout. Y'all with me? Are you guys with me here?
Yep,
Understanding
that makes sense.
sentiment, understand how this stuff works. Again, I just
I recommend it. It's called Safe by Grace.
Right. I've been sitting there picking this stuff off. As many of you guys have. I'm just playing under the rules of engagement. I posted y'all last week. How many of them was it last week? The last week I kept posting all them. I turned 17 into what? Into $200. One before that, I turned what? 15 into what? 120, 130. Y'all know I'm on this little piece of chain for a small, for a little something strange campaign. Little piece of chain for something strange campaign. I told you I was gonna do that, right? Because I like to show people that we ain't just sitting there playing, right? Cause y'all know a lot of people don't understand what we do and they don't take us serious, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna show you how a little bit of money can go a long way if you learn how to what? Use the market at its what? Against itself, right? So that was what? 3 or 4 different separate occasions I did that just in that 1 week scenario alone. 15 in the 130, 17 in the 200 and plus, 200 plus. I did another one like 30 bucks into maybe like 140, 50 bucks. That's all that was done under 50 bucks.
90 to 400 on that on Dick Sporting Goods. Good one too.
Trade earnings, right? The earnings play.
Yeah.
This is all stuff that
Sure. Also too.
we gotta just plan for. We got to plan for things that obviously has a value that is more intrinsic to that of the overall market sentiment. Now we know that there's certain sectors that obviously finna start going through a little something right now, this close into the ideal of tapering, and that sector is going to be what? Who adversely gets affected the most when the tapering starts happening first? What sector? Or I should say that. Let me just let me dumb it down. Well, let me make a macro perspective. We're out on three different levels, right? There's three different levels of values of investment, right? There's growth, there's value, and then there's legacy, right? And then we know there's a fourth one that is deemed to be momentum. But growth, value, and legacy stocks, right? What makes up most of the growth stocks? What sector makes up most of the growth stocks?
Sector.
Say again?
Would that be tech?
Technical stocks, right? Or technology stocks, right? I should technical, but technology stocks, people. So technology stocks would be like who?
Apple, Tesla, Amazon, anybody under the NASDAQ, mostly under the NASDAQ, Microsoft,
Google.
Right? Let me show y'all this right here.
Snowflake.
Hold up, what just happened here? Hold up. Let me show y'all this right here. Come on, thing. Why is it doing this silliness? Oh, no one this thing in the way. Hold up. Oh, it's trying to make me do all this else. All right, let me do this, man. It's true. Let's go. Let me show you this right here. Y'all see that right there? Hold up, let me move all this off the screen here. 1 second, we're going to close out here. Y'all see that right there? Hold up. Y'all see that right there? That's almost a straight line. When we say in terms of market term, this is what you consider almost a straight line straight up. That's COVID lows. This is where it's at now. That's a straight line straight up. If that ain't overbought, y'all convince me how it's not. But guess what? Do you think markets care? No. Because if the getting is good, it's still they're gonna keep getting. But now that the idea of tapering is going to start happening, or the ideal of it, what's gonna get hit first and hit hardest? Tech, growth stocks, or value stocks? What's gonna get hit first and the hardest? Growth stock or value stocks?
Growth.
So growth stocks gonna get hit first. The likes of the big high flyers are like who?
Well, they have it. You know, the aisle. When you go into the vegetable section,
right?
Somebody got to think Michael.
Walk straight, almost all the way down. That's where they have it.
Oh, yeah. Anybody?
Well, they change Stop and Shop.
Somebody. Let me see. I did meet some stuff. I don't know who it is. All right. So all this stuff right here, we're probably gonna be the first ones to get. Look at Google sitting right at the top of the integration band. This thing went from basically basically $1,000, right? To 2,880.
I'm gonna come down.
This thing is up almost 200%. Show me the last time Google had 200% run in less than a year, or right at a year on this chart perspective here. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Back it up.
I see it.
Now look at this part right here. Look at that. Look at that. Boy.
That's crazy.
Flight to safety. Run into tech. Run into stocks that had big moves. We talked about this. Ain't nothing new. A lot of us already in these stocks way back during that time because that's what everybody ran to. So we can benefit off the gains and be proud about it, but we ain't stupid at the same time, right? We know when musical chairs stop, it's time for what? To realize what's going on here.
Come back
right?
to earth on
Right.
cloud nine.
I'm not buying up at all-time high, right? Not equity share. I may do a little option trade, but that's it. That's the importance of having what? Flexibility. Option trading and what? Equity outright. Long-term portfolio value, I'm good, right? Let me get a nice correction. I add dollar cost average then, but until then, I trade the option market in or around it. Yeah. But this here, ludicrous mode. That's the real ludicrous mode on Tesla. Everything you throw up, they're going to be about the same reality. Microsoft, look at that chart. Make that make sense. Look at that. 130 is sitting at $300 basically. We can go on and on and on. Go ahead. Somebody about to say something? Look right here. Look at Facebook. Same thing. See right there? $145, $130, 372. Last one, right? Amazon. Could make this stuff up. Right here. See? Amazon even like it took a dip during the COVID scenario, right? Because everything about Amazon became essential during COVID. Look right here. COVID hit, Amazon say, oh, this is good news. It ain't bad news to us. It didn't even dip. It just went ripping to the upside. True story. $1,500 up here to what? Basically, $3,800. Over
Just
100.
thinking some people bought leap calls on that.
They did.
Man.
Know why? Because we're trained to realize when chaos happens, you plan for the stocks or the sectors that's going to benefit the most down the road because they provide a what? Level of service or aspect of what? Defensiveness to the marketplace at that moment. See how that makes sense?
Yeah.
Timelines. Tonight's discussion is about what? Tapering, technicals, and timelines. Growth versus value and options. That's what I titled it for a reason. It's to connect those dots so you guys not be confused about how this stuff worked and what's going to happen coming down the pipeline. Because we got what coming down the pipeline? Tapering. Tapering going to throw a temper tantrum in the what? In the markets. And the stocks have benefited the most who are fat, swollen, whatever. When algos do a search and destroy, who are they going to hit first? Stocks that are overbought or oversold?
Overbought.
Overbought, right? So if overbought's going to be the target search and destroy, then it ain't hard for y'all to go to, let's say Google, anywhere, Amazon would say 52-week high, right? Say right at 52-week high stocks, you can just put in that, right? Let's see what's out there, right? See right here. These stocks that just hit 52-week highs, right? Now I don't know if this over or just it should just on 52-week highs at this point, right? Now look here, right? I mean, you just go down the list of these stocks, right? And see exactly if they fall in, what sector they fall in, what they don't. Now, if you got a way to filter that, some of them you can. You can filter if it's tech, if it's data, if it's whatever. And you can kind of see what's going on. As of this query, this thing is showing 801 stocks are at 52-week highs. Now, whether they even in those sectors or not, to a degree, even if the market has what they call an unraveling of market sentiment because of a pullback. Now we know the stocks that are really, really overbought going to get hit hardest. But even these 52-week high stocks, unless they are a defensive play till the market's coming back for some odd reason, they're going to get hit hard first too. Why? Because they are at what? At their peak performance points. Does that make sense? Look here, technology service, Zscaler, health technology. ZNTL, Ztellis, right? Look at him. What's it? Zenvia, right? Electronic technology, Zebra, all these little stuff right there. Whatever there's technology wise, you be looking for those definitely. And then you got the miscellaneous ones propped up in there too, right? Again, these are just some off the beaten path. That's before you can get to the big names out there. But these are 52-week highs, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can just query stuff in your research and say, let me find this, let me find that, let me see what's out there. Because if there is going to be unraveling stocks that are at their peak point or overbought stock, they're going to get hit hard, right? Now the same way I put in 52 weeks, we can put in the same quiver and what? Put in what? Overbought what? Overbought stocks, right? And we say, well, what's the most overbought stocks in the market right now? See right here, 361 matches came up, right? 361 health technology. Sorry, now y'all see the trend. Y'all see this here? What is the trend y'all see right here now? What do y'all see right there in that little bit of tranche alone? What's the dominating sector that's overbought the most? Anybody? What's the most dominating sector that's overbought?
Tech.
I'm gonna say tech.
Y'all see it right there. There's words right there. I ain't making this up, right? Look at the words. Look at that. Right? Y'all see that there? Not making this up. Let's go a little deeper, right? Let's go down. 361 matches. Look at that. Still tech. Still tech, right? A lot of tech stuff in there, right? I mean, look, this stuff is crazy, right? Hold up. All right, come on, thing. All right. So you see what's going on here, right? A lot of tech. You see some finance in there too, because obviously finance been boosting because of what? The idea of tapering. That's why finance sector rebounded lately. Financial sector was kind of falling in the value of what? In the value of value stocks, right? Now that they're running because of what? The idea of interest rates starting to what? Go back up because of tapering. That's how they make their money. That's why they just, all them finance sector starting what? Banging out lately. So you weren't wondering why some of these banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all those kind of stocks had a little boost, is because that's how this stuff works. It's a shift in terms of the money. Now all these stocks here are overbought by this, query, but look at their ratings. Buy, strong buy, buy, strong buy, strong buy, strong buy, strong buy. Y'all see that there? Strong buy, strong buy. None of this stuff is saying what? Hold, underperform, none of that. And all these stocks here are what? Overbought. So they're just saying still what? Keep what? That bank's telling you what? Keep what? Keep buying. Could make this stuff up. Right? Not making this stuff up. So that's how that works. So you got to understand what sectors benefit the most during a scenario like this, especially doing a rebalancing of what? In terms of growth, value, legacy stock, which one's going to move, where the money's going to shift. You need to play into those areas and somewhat front run it to a degree. This is how you plan ahead. Again, use your timeline to your advantage, figure out where the money's going to be, where it's going to rotate to, and start planning for it in advance. Does that make sense? Y'all with me there? All this stuff is at your fingertips. You got to learn how to play within the rules of engagement. And the same way you look at what? Things that are oversold, you start seeing that there's certain things in there that make sense, that may benefit the most because they are value laden and they may have some applicability of balancing during the idea when tapering happens, but it has to be in the right sector. Now, actually, if we going to start dealing with COVID again to a degree, this is, and whether people go back to work or not, and you get tapering, what stock's going to benefit, in, that kind of environment?
Value stocks.
Certain value-based stocks. So it ain't hard to look up what some of those value stocks may look like. We already know finance stocks definitely can benefit, right? Because it's the idea of what interest rates can go up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So anything dealing in that finance space, you want to look for that. That's why the finance stocks now still showing what? Oversold. Not all of them, but some. See right there, finance. Look at all them finance stocks loaded in there. I mean, you got some tech sprinkled in there too, but finance dominating that sector. Right? And then you got health technology, consumer non-durables, right? Stuff like that. Sprinkled in there, retail, obviously, right? Commercial services, right? Makes sense, obviously. Right? But we spoke about that even with Cheesecake Factory, right? Look what Cake did. We did the case study on Cake, Cheesecake Factory. It was basically down to peanuts, and that thing blasted all the way up to like $60. Value play. Could make this stuff up, right? War happening right now because of all that stuff was going on with Afghanistan. What are some of the defensive stocks that benefit during war? Lockheed Martin, Raytheon.
Grumman.
You know what I'm saying? Rocket science. Palantir. Cybersecurity.
Caterpillar.
Right? Caterpillar industrial stuff. Right? John Deere, possibly Home Depot. See how that stuff work? Y'all can do this. You can do this, guys. You got to be patient enough to make it all make sense. Sit through it. Connect the dots. Read the data that they're providing you, right? And know how the sectors flip when they're necessary, you know, basically from one to the next. And the money machine keeps what? Keeps rolling. Money machine keeps rolling. Even if tech pull back, guess what the excuse is going to be to buy the S&P 500? They're going to say, well, finance sector is going to prop the market up. Can't even aim for losing. They ain't going to let it lose. Well, finance set to hold the market up today. That's why the market is up today. Tech getting killed though. And so finance hold the market up. Banks buying the market. Well, the banks already been buying the market because of reverse repo operation. All right, I'll leave that alone. Y'all get it. So plan ahead, be smart, use everything to your advantage to, again, compartmentalize the market, make it all make sense. So that way, when you start to think about if you're going to put money into the market now, you wait to put money into the market. What sectors are beneficial? Which ones are not? Which ones are speculative, very speculative? Which ones makes for great safe haven? In the event that things do work out in that perspective, you get a chance to move somewhat to some of the cyclical plays in terms of what value plays, and to what those other sectors kind of what bottom out, and then they start looking attractive again. That's all that money do. Money just rotates from one sector to the next. That's all it does. And you can spread it out against others as well, but it's less going into heavier weight stocks as opposed to those who are underweight. They go more to the underweight ones. That's where the bulk of that bread go, right? So it's all relevant. So again, oversold, overbought stock, look for them all. Understand that these are the things that the markets are looking for, right? Sector and industry values. See what their performance levels are, right? Look at energy and minerals this past weeks there, or at this point. They up 2.9%. You say, well, what are energy and minerals, right? Yeah. You might want to go look in that. Right now, they're accounting for about $2 trillion. As of now, they account for $2 trillion. Consumer services account for 2.7 trillion. Consumer non-durables, 3.1 trillion. And then there you go. Look at this. Look at it. Electronic technology, 7.1 trillion. Couldn't make this stuff up. Look at finance, 11.67 trillion. Because money been rotate into what? The finance sector. Slowly but surely underneath, people know they've been rotating money into the finance sector. Why? Because when tapering happens, the ideal of interest rates going up. Who benefits when interest rates go up? Financial services, banks, lender services, etc. Not rocket science.
Mind blown.
Right? So we're not slow. We just need to understand rules of engagement. You got to know this man out here pregnant. Look at that. Technology service, $15 trillion. In this sector alone, 15 trillion. In closing, look at here. 605 stocks meet that technology infrastructure scenario or industry sector in terms of that money growth. Look at the majority of the ratings still. Still some buys speaking in with some sales here and there, but still people trying to buy this stuff. Like, really? Y'all might need to start thinking about being a little neutral on some of these spots unless they have an independent value in the market when the market start tapering. But outside of that, this is a bloated sector, right? It's a very bloated sector, right? So again, for what it's worth, we're playing into that, right? And that's just on the ideal of what some of those look like in terms of if they're oversold or hitting sales. They're getting all, see right there, the ones getting those sales signals now. That means they already know that what's coming. They already know what's coming. Those who already start selling out ahead of those who have not sold off yet, look here. Their days are coming. This support.com, that one just rocketed this past week. Support SPRT, that one just rocketed. All these right here, see, they have to be independent of the what? The overall sector to not get hit when the what? You know, the rug gets pulled. But that's how you can come filter all them stocks and find them, because you'll know, okay, I'm gonna buy some puts on some of them, right? If it start happening, if they are unsafe in a taper environment, yeah. Or if not, you know, if you want to do that, just go look for those what overbought ones, like we just looked at earlier. All right, so that's it, guys. So good session, guys. A lot of stuff we broke down. Thank y'all for being patient again. I think we got some good data in.
We got 2 more hours to go, man. What you talking about?
Right, right, right. Now I got to go up here and do some data work now, because again, little guy got school, you know, first grade tomorrow. So, you know, I want to make sure I give him some good time before he going, because you know I didn't keep go to bed early, right? You gotta go to bed early. You got school, going in. But again, I'm on pins and knees like anybody else that got kids, right? Because this COVID stuff ain't letting up. And right when you get comfortable, that's when it can get bad. And so they still ain't authorized that stuff for kids. If you for against vaccine, you know where you can look at it. This stuff is weird, right? Again, so we trying to bounce all that as parents, as you know, again, investors. We're trying to figure out where can we, you know, find solace in this, and at least be able to kind of do a little something, make a little money here to help pass it a little bit. But these skill sets here come at, look here, these are a dying breed skill sets. Y'all, I have to be very, look, be grateful that you trusted yourself. Notice that, not somebody else, yourself. You are responsible for why y'all are here. Not me, not somebody else. You are responsible because you had to drink the Kool-Aid to realize I've been out here doing it this way for the longest. I ain't really benefiting. I need to get where the money's at, where the real money at. Well, the real money is over here. So you trusted yourself to be in this, to learn this. Take it as far as you can take it. I repeat, take it as far as you can take it. Be the biggest nerd you can in this space. Why? Because it don't cost you nothing. This information is literally free. You have to put in the work to extract it though. But guess what? It beats blowing 2 or 3 hours on something that ain't gonna give you a return on your investment. Ain't no, I'm not gonna throw shots and shots fired. I typically throw shots on certain industries out there that take a lot of our people's attention. Y'all already know what they are at this point. No need for me to reiterate it. Focus on now getting your money right and your future generations right. Make sense? That's why we're here, right? So I'm gonna end it on that. So thank y'all again for tuning in. Thank everybody on the YouTube side. Thank you guys for your patience once again. It is gonna be on the YouTube side of the house, so you can go back and go through it again, right? So that's want to make sure we have it archived. Again, those who patronize the business and data myself, I'm humbled by that. Of course, this is what I want to do, baby. Provide everything that I can under my position to help bring about, some great opportunities out there. Some different vantage point, viewpoints, all that. We're going to make sure we uncover it, right? So thank y'all for tuning in, everybody on the YouTube side. Again, like, share, subscribe, get it out. Y'all know we do PG rated educational stuff over here, so you can share it with your children, right? Your spouse and whomever. Get them excited about investing. Make it a family game. There's a real game out there called stocks and bonds, right? It's been around since what, the 70s, 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Y'all can do it in real time now. Stop playing, right? Everybody come together and say, hey, we're going to take 40, 50 bucks, right? Let's make it a family goal. Let's see if we can grow this 40 bucks to what, 80 or to 100. Let's find some stocks that we can invest in. We all can be a part of that. And let's make it a fun environment, a fun endeavor. Does it make sense? Get in the habit of doing stuff like that. Some of y'all, man, that's cheesy. How is that cheesy? That's a 2-4 win. Quality time with your family and a financial benefit. Make that not make sense to me. If you ain't got kids, do it with your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. Make not, seriously. I'll leave that alone. All right. Y'all get it. All right. Joke like, yeah. I guess we see what he's saying. But yeah, seriously, it's that kind of party. Because if you don't, brainwash your household, your kids now, somebody else will do it for you for free. Thanks. And they ain't gonna teach them this right here. I guarantee you that. They're not gonna teach them this stuff right here. Right? All right, so I'll leave it on that. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace, power, pride. Like, share, subscribe. I enjoy you all. You guys are awesome. We family here. I look forward to the next session.
Thanks,
But
Sober.
anytime. I'm humble. Peace, power, profit,
Thanks,
everybody.
Sober. Peace, power, and profit,
I'm
family.
humble. Y'all better find the video. It's gonna be up on YouTube. If you want to go back and replay it for study notes, you'll have access to it. Make sense?
It's power profit.
Peace, power, profit, everybody. See y'all back in the group. See y'all back in the Discord. See y'all back on the battlefield. Oh, I almost forgot. I didn't do it. I forgot, but I ain't. Well, let's see. I'm almost certain what I think what's going to be happening over there, but y'all know where I'm going real quick. I didn't do the we typically do. Our market's going to be up or down tomorrow. And futures right now. Futures are up or down right now. Futures are up or down right now.
Probably stagnant. Probably up, but stagnant.
Stagnant, up, possibly. Anybody else? Up, down on futures right now. Up, down on futures. Up, down, left, right, A, B, A, B. Right? Right. The cheat code, the Nintendo cheat code. Where we at? Anybody? Let's go see real quick.
On the Sega?
That Nintendo. What you doing, Nintendo?
Nintendo.
Right? Man, Kill Country. That country game. Right? There it is right there. Up 18 points slightly. Oh, hold on. Is that, let me refresh this here. Is that, yeah, that's where we at. Yeah. Weekend Wall Street had the market down like 33 points. And now, you know why it's up? Why is the market up right now, even though we had a beautiful day Friday? We had a MOC of 388 million, meaning the market on close sell of 388 million. But guess what they did show? Market on buy. Market on buy was over $1 billion. That means a lot of people are buying the all-time high because things that are strong tend to get what? Stronger. And they know that they got at least about a good week, right, to play into the ideal of what? Those job numbers, unemployment numbers that they can what? Make more money off of. See how that work? Greed begets greed. These people, look, until it's a time for it to get what? Okay, pull back. So we'll see if it holds into the morning, but that's just, whatever. That's it. So thank y'all again for tuning in. See y'all on the next one. If you want to donate, y'all know how that stuff go. I don't go into that deep there, on a lot, but the Cash App is down there too. I'm gonna throw me a couple dollars on that. I'm just gonna buy some baits with it. That's all I do, right? Go fishing. Right? right. Can't even go now because the hurricane that messed me all up. I'll be looking out there tomorrow, but we definitely got some clouds in the DC area. Again, shout out to everybody that's going through this Louisiana scenario. Again, don't definitely don't want to forget that. Everybody in the Arkansas, Mississippi area right now, again, our best to them. Let's make sure we function, again, acknowledging those people as well.
Okay.
All right. All right, that's it. So I'll see y'all on the next one, guys. Peace, power, profit, everybody. See y'all on the next one.
Time profit over.
Peace, everybody. Peace, family.